Hello. Welcome to the Exatos.
Yeah. Wayne's World, party time, excellent. So just in case everyone didn't remember, we have the F chat running up here. So the uncensored chat is F chat. Look at this beautiful man's head. Isn't it great? I really love Thomas. Thomas, you got the look of love.
They call it the it factor.
It's true. I mean, it's the they them factor for me, but it for you. I get that. That's pretty reasonable.
Have you seen that movie from the 1920s? It?
The
original It, not to be confused with Stephen King's bastardization of the classic film.
John Wayne Gacy story, right? Yeah.
It's a silent movie, but I forget the name of the original It girl. But it's actually a really funny, good movie. Yeah.
Just called It.
The guy's like, it's like to have it. It's where it comes from. Yeah, here you go. Yeah. So the guy's like into this lady, and then like he like makes the mistake of thinking that she has a baby because she's like has a housemate who has a baby, and then he's like no longer interested, and she's like, no, I don't actually have a baby, and then it's all good, and she's like, then he's into her again. It's basically the plot.
Yeah, it's great. That's how that works. Well, like I said, we're continuing the trend of having the where's the right thing here? Of having the F chat set up for uncensored chat. It's also super great for super chats, and so we hope to see you all in there. Just go to the link on the bottom of the screen, efchat.net/@Exertus, because that's our own private space. Do it because I said it. Do it because I made Paranoid Americans count say it without permission.
Oh no. What have I got myself into?
So much more power. Yeah, did you see the F chat? It's like made by this friend of ours, Tawny, who is a girl who makes like software. And I've been watching the project for a while, and it's like it's pretty much what you'd always dreamed of. It's like a uncensored chat full of autistic kids from around the world, and it kind of gets you back in like the vibage of like the 90s chat. It feels kind of like AIM but like sexy or something like that. So
it sounds dangerous.
It is kind of like look at that. We love Exotic Girl. You're just like, oh, that's so good of you. All right. So yeah, basically super chats are like way better here because they don't have the they don't get taxed by the gypsies at YouTube, which is pretty nice. And then again, yeah, like the uncensored factor, because if you can't say something in a chat on YouTube, well, what can I do for you? It's not like we have an option on the bottom of our screen there.
Until now. There's got to be a better way.
There sure is, Thomas. All right. Well, what have you guys been up to this week? Because I was just walking across like all of Budva. I walked like an hour with Raphael to this coffee shop we like that has 30-cent ice cream. And there's this lovely lady who works there who's a Muslim chick who has tattoos. And she's like your perfect definition of like what I keep talking about, that Slavic Bosnian Muslim thing where they don't wear like bed sheets. They're, she's like a nice Slavic girl running around selling a coffee and pretty cool. Like, and this is exactly what I kept hoping that people would know about the world, is that it's not so much about what your religion is, so long as you're Slavic. That's all it takes to be like the superior being.
Hey, did you make it to the Bosnian pyramids? Did that happen?
We did, yeah. I got all kinds of footage of that I can share with you at some point if you guys want. Actually, we did a private tour. So last time I went there with my brother and my dad, we met this dude, also a Muslim, who this time I went with to his mosque at the Visoko Bosnian pyramid. And we prayed together. I had to do the wudu, not the voodoo, where you like every day Muslims wash themselves 5 times so they can pray 5 times and be clean. I was
Who
like,
the hell are you praying to?
This upsets the Orthodox, right? Because they're like, Allah is a demon. But no, I don't really think that Allah is a demon. I'm pretty sure that's because the more you look, because like the Knights of Malta, the Maltese Catholics pray to Allah because it's just the Arabic word. And Eloi is the singular in Hebrew, but Aramaic, Eloi, if you remove the dots, it's spelled the same way as Allah. It's just really funny to me how people have this sort of Paris syndrome about each other's cultures and their own religions, basically. But I'm pretty sure we pray to the same God. That's what I'm pretty convinced of. And
wait, but you were praying to Allah?
Yeah, bro. Look at me. I'm a Bosniak now. What are you gonna do about it?
Akbar.
Admiral Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Admiral Allahu Akbar. Yeah, it's true. But yeah, so the point is, he's a really cool kid. Where's my I have an album that I can show you. Which one was it? Do you remember like the album we have?
A photo album?
Yeah, because I got I get the Google and the photos, and then let me see if I can pull this up here.
We need to get serious. We need to get serious if we're talking religion.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, I mean, we're not really going to go super, but you do look like you work for the British Museum now. You do look like
I was thinking Muslim Brotherhood personally, which I thought was the joke.
What's the difference, David? At this point, we're talking.
I can put
about
the hat on,
dude. Which one? How many?
That or falling down?
He's a man of many hats. Okay, I'm trying to find the picture to show you. You guys saw when I was in Bosnia, we went on this one road we weren't supposed to go on. I told you about this. So basically, we were driving. And then we missed a turn and was like, well, do we have to go back? It's like, well, there is another road just ahead. But we didn't realize that road hadn't been driven on since the Kosovo War. And so it was filled with landmines, which we tried to ignore the signs because I was hoping that this meant buried treasure or something like that. But, but we stayed on the straight and narrow, which is a metaphor and a literal truth. And eventually, after 3 or 4 hours, we got about the hour, 45 minute it would have taken to get to Visoko, which was pretty sweet. And you can see we went through these cool Muslim towns filled with little gypsy houses and mosques and things like that. And then I don't know if where's the photo of our bro? I gotta have it somewhere here. Here we go. This is our buddy here, Eldar, which is also I think J.R.R. Tolkien's name for a certain kind of elf prince or something like that. But one of the things you'll notice is he's super cool. He's Muslim because he covers his knees. That's your tip. I had to find that out because I always wear short shorts. So I couldn't wear those to the mosque. But he's probably one of the most abstract, new age, hippie sounding people from Bosnia who is a Muslim. You know what I mean? Because he does all the religion. He doesn't drink. He's super careful. He's a very good guy, very healthy. But he's also super into energy, and the Bosnian pyramids is his main job. I remember meeting him with my brother and my dad a couple of years ago, and I just texted him. I was like, hey, bro, are you still kicking around Visoko? And he's like, yeah. So we asked if he wanted to do a private tour, and he took us around and did he did a private tour of the Bosnian pyramids, which we filmed the whole thing. And we have all sorts of footage that we're going to put together that shows you, the different pyramids. Because it wasn't just one pyramid. There's the pyramid of the sun, the moon, etc. And they all kind of make this interesting pattern. And we went inside the pyramids. We went 300 or 400 meters deep into the thing or more, almost 400. Yeah, it was
at what point, what year do you know thereabouts they start really digging into the soil there to see? Because it was debated for a long time whether these were a natural thing or
they're trying really hard to debate that. I want to find the picture so I could show you. By the way, there's the cool mosque that we went to that's super beautiful that we prayed in, which was super based. It was actually pretty rad and super hippie for a mosque. Let me try to find. I don't know if I can find the. Do we have a picture of just the Bosnian pyramid? Because like this is the thing. When I first
was the knee thing a modesty rule?
Yeah, they have modesty rules. Yeah, they have to be clean. They have to not be on drugs, and they have to pray 5 times a day and cover their knees. You know, because it's unsightly or something like that, which is interesting to me because the women are far less covered up in Bosnia. They're not like all wearing things covered. They wear normal clothes. I mean, I saw a girl in shorts like this. I didn't know this girl. We've been going to this coffee shop for like a month. I didn't know she was. I've seen her knees. Yeah, like she doesn't always wear like long pants. It's now autumn, so of course this is starting to happen. But her family just looked like me. You know, they're just a lot. And when I went into the pyramid. Dude, I want to sound like Malcolm X here. I prayed with blonde and blue-eyed Muslim brothers. You know, like they look like Mormon dudes with a bit more Slavic because you know sometimes you get that bad posture because you're all stretched out and everything. But they're wearing like regular white shirts and they're wearing like Adidas pants and like they're just normal people. But they pray because it's like a good way to keep a rhythm to their day. And everyone's super nice and chill and tolerant. Anyway, the pyramids, when I was with my dad and my brother, we went there and I saw that this was a thing. Everyone was telling me I had to go check it out. We're like, yeah, I guess it's been debated the way David was just saying it. And we drove into the thing thinking like, okay, well, it'll probably take us like a week to figure out what we think about this thing. You know, who knows what's really going on because obviously no one's come to a conclusion that's proven it. Well, then as we're driving, we see the damn thing. And I mean, you know, it's not, this picture doesn't even do it justice. It's not a question. There's no question that this is a pyramid when you start to look into it. And if you see older pictures and you find out in the 60s, they were trying to cover it up. They planted all these trees. There were no trees on here because the whole thing is concrete and ceramic that's poured.
Who's they in this case?
The Illuminati? No, I'm just kidding. It could be the Illyrians or the Vinca culture. Vinca culture. This is something else. When we went to Kosovo, we started to recognize. Let me find. This is their cool. The Tertullian tablets come from the Vinca culture, right? This is the Tartarian tablets and everything. So when you start to look into what people are talking about, you got the Illyrians, you have the Slavonians.
Have you ever heard of the Veneti?
How do you spell this? Veneti.
Veneti. And the only reason I asked because I was looking into Slovenian culture. And I found this writer, and he was like super excited that I was even looking into this. And he sent me like this book that he had put together in research and signed it. And it's basically about a lot of the cultures that get credit for all the historical findings and the cultural findings, that a lot of them were actually come from the Veneti, which is not Venetian. It sounds like it, but it's basically like in the Slovenian region.
Well, it is. This is. I mean, yeah, you can see Slovenia, but it also is Italy. It's Trieste, and it's North Croatia, and it's all of the Dalmatian coast. And so when you look into the history of Venetians, I think the Venetians are probably connected to the Venetic because up until 100 years ago, actually, basically 60 years ago, there were still people that didn't speak Italian in Italy, right? Because Italian's like a created language since they created the Italian state. It wasn't until after Napoleon a place where everyone now we have the state of Italy in the 1880s. Like now we have the state of Italy. The next thing we need to do is create Italians. And so they started trying to force them all to look at each other as one nation. And this has been a major annoyance as a Croatian for me is how many people think everything's Italian because so many things are not Italian. They're like, well, they're part of the Roman Empire. Like, screw you,
I thought it was all Greek, right?
Yeah, so they get the idea of the Byzantines.
Put some Windex.
This is a bigger deal. The people that really get that the most are the North Macedonians and the Bosnians, because if you go through there, every sign, like you saw, was in Cyrillic. They have Roman and Cyrillic, and it's really, that's a church thing more than a nation thing, whether or not you consider yourself part of the kind of Hellenic culture or the Roman culture. And this affected whether or not you were a Trinitarian or if you were into St. Arius, right? St. Arius was an anti-Trinitarian, so in the 300s. You have the schism. So the original Protestants before the Protestants are like the Slavic Muslims. Because they were.
What do you mean by before? You mean before Martin Luther? What are you saying? What?
Yeah. Like 500 years prior to that, like maybe more. There's the East-West Schism, where the Greek. So basically, you have the whole church is out of Constantinople, and they're not speaking Greek. They're not speaking Russian. They're not speaking like Latin. They're speaking Old Slavonic, which Old Slavonic is the mother tongue that led to like Serbo-Croatian, Yugoslavian language today. But all the writings are in Old Slavonic, and they get kicked out. Well, not completely, but the church is no longer in charge. Mehmet II's taken over and makes it the Ottoman Empire, and it becomes Istanbul. He doesn't actually kick them out, but they leave because they feel like they're not in charge anymore, and they have to justify their existence. So they try to go to Rome, they try to go to Crete, and then they establish these two archdioceses, and one becomes the Pope. And their whole thing is to prove that they have precedent to exist starting before Constantinople. So they're not super worried about, what's going on in Istanbul at that point. But they're arguing then over the Slavic territories. And so in Hungary, for instance, you've a lot of Janissaries because the Muslims take over, but they allow them to remain Christian. And in Bosnia, you have a huge Muslim population because they choose between the East and the West. They're like, well, neither. I don't want to be Roman. I don't want to be Greek Orthodox, Byzantine, whatever because no one called it Byzantine at the time.
Can I ask you about something that I don't know if you know that guy Reese, local guy Reese, who's a sailor, but he's in your circle, but whatever. There's this idea, and I'm not going to do this anywhere near justice, and I think it was in that book. There's like a disinfo series. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Where God, what is that called? Book of Lies, but it's not Crowley's book. It's another Book of Lies. You Thomas, you're probably.
I know you're talking about, yeah.
Those guys had something that came out about this. Yeah, there's this idea of like the cross with the circle as a symbol, and the way that you find that in the ancient world, and the way that people who sailed were treated as these kind of magicians that would go off somewhere and they come back with these goods and these, these really exotic things. Like in the ancient world, like, yeah, there's like this whole, well, even beyond that, where it's like
the AFDL is going to sue us. The ADL is going to be like, this is a hate crime right now. How dare you show a solar cross, right? I don't know. I mean, like, but it is a mathematical symbol that represents the four corners. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's also this idea that there's a tool that was used in the ancient world that sailors all use, like serious sailors
use
compass
rose,
this compass tool for navigation purposes.
A 33-point compass rose that they could divide the world into 360 easier with 33. Yeah.
Right. So it's this basic thing that got this like more complex application. Like the tool itself wasn't as simple as that, but that is the basic, So it's not just the compass. It's like there's this whole other thing going on. Like the way that it worked, like it's actually like a mechanism.
The astrolabe.
Is that what it is? Yeah. And like I said, I'm kind of spitballing.
The astrolabe is sort of like a 3-dimensional version of this.
Yeah. Old friend of mine introduced me to this idea, and it was an article connected with those people that was supposedly really empirical, and he's giving this whole argument for it. But it's just funny because in that article there was no mention of like the Constantine, by this sign you will conquer. That's on every pack of Pall Mall cigarettes, but it's like Vidi Vici or whatever. We saw, we conquered is on every pack of Marlboros, but Pall Mall has this Constantine quote, and the symbol that was supposed to be by this sign you will conquer is the same symbol. It's the cross with the circle and that whole thing. So I don't know. I was just like, if you were to relate to it, that goes beyond we're going to conquer through Christianity, but we're actually conquering through this mechanism and this tool that's used to navigate for long distances, and how we can find our way like that. Like, yeah, is it? What do you think?
It's easy. So the compass rose is, instead of using a 10 decimal system, right, or like 360, it's easier to divide the world into 33 points. And it's actually on the dollar as well. I think if I can find the dollar bill, you can probably see that there's a compass rose. I'd have to look at the back side of it.
You're doing it on the Great Seal of the $1 bill?
Like hidden or blatantly on it?
It's right around the hex. Okay. So you go in here and you can see this is actually a compass rose around the pentacle hexagram, right? It's hard to see because it's blurry, but this has got 33 points around it because it represents the compass rose. That's that circle there.
Oh, I see, beyond the 13 stars.
Yeah, I need to look at better.
We've discussed this, but if you bring that up, I would be, I have to say, the weird thing about that symbol that you just shared on the Great Seal is that if you continue this pattern, so you have 13 points right there. If you continue that pattern, if you go along the edge and you just stay in the same formation, if you do that 9 times, 9 extensions of that, the number of points is, I believe, 541, which is the gematria of Israel. So you have the 6-pointed star, and so there's an argument that this relates to like the 9 gates, and like it's a whole trippy thing. But yeah, it's just I had to lay this out with pennies at one point. I had to experiment to see if it was in fact true, and I physically did so.
My favorite is that owl head right there. The wings, you get that the wings here, there's like this spot right here that's the eye, and the other eye like a
33 feathers on one side and 32 on the other. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, but you see that the wings, it's in the shape of a face, like an owl face, with the eyes being.
Oh yeah, totally. I've seen that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of nice stuff in the dollar. Let me just check right here.
Don't forget the owlie in the top corner.
Top corner owl.
Right. Yeah. I got to go back if you want to see the little tiny owl.
How many licks does it take?
And I've heard spider too. That it's a spider, and each of those works for Bohemian Grove, right?
I thought that the spider was elsewhere in the dollar, but okay.
I think the spider's just a member. I don't know if he works for them. Like he's just friends together with them.
Weaving spiders not here. What is it? Weave spider like spiders not here. Weave. What is it?
Weaving spiders come not here. I think.
Oh, thank you.
This is a Shakespeare quote.
By the way, guys, I have a bit of a case of the grogs today. I got like 6 hours, and I'm doing coffee to try and treat it.
Nice. This is the Vinci figure. If you go to what's it called, Kosovo capital, Pristina. Here we go. This is Pristina, and this is their emblem or shield, which has their weird Vinci goddess thing on it. And you'll find these in Austria, Croatia, Montenegro, all the way down into North Greece, into Macedonia. There's these weird alien-looking symbols that they have from their prototypical culture. And when you look at the pyramids, let me go back again. I'll find it for you. Somewhere here. When you look at some of this material and they start looking into it, they're like, well, actually, it's way older. And I don't know how much I believe in the age of things generally, but it's way older than anything else in civilization, older than any of the records we have of the pyramids for sure. And they think it's like 20,000 years old. I mean, obviously, who knows if the world's even more than 100 years old, like whatever, but it's all probably like simulation. But it's this weird ceramic also that it's made out of, which is pretty interesting. So the pyramids have this also weird energy pattern. There's pictures of, they've used like EMF cameras to pick up like how radio waves and EMF waves, electromagnetic radiation, like bends and bounces off things and shortwave. And the pyramids have this weird direction of energy that goes vertical, goes straight up.
I guess so my inquiry was, it wasn't there literally an excavation project that was done at one point a number of years back? Is that not accurate?
Yeah. So the 2008 is when they. Okay. So first off, it's on other cultures. It's been there forever. So the Bosnian kings built their kingdom and their fiefdom on top of the thing at one point in the 12th to 15th century. And then in the 19th century, it was also important to other excavation projects. So it's actually been excavated for a long time, but it wasn't looked at for being a pyramid until 2008, really. There are people that kind of called it the pyramid, but they didn't really think about it like, oh, this is a pyramid. And in 2008, they started doing the digging, and they're still doing it. They're doing excavation on the inside, but there's areas they're not allowed to dig or excavate now, because even if we don't know for sure, let's say, that it's a pyramid, we do know for sure that the Bosnian kings, which were so long ago, were there. And so they don't want to disturb those relics, right? So they're unable to do certain kinds of things to check on the top of the thing to excavate further in certain areas. But they are allowed to go through the bottom of it, where there's
all the people that want to dig under the Sphinx, and the Egyptian government's like, no, please, like, enough already, you guys. They're like, we need to blow it up, get down there. The halls of Amenti are down there. We got the Akashic records are right there, but the government, the man won't let us at him,
Well, they've been pretty upset about it, and LiDAR has been used, and the government arrested the guys that were using LiDAR to prove that there's like huge amounts of stuff underneath the pyramids, right? but they still have the information out there. The same thing with these Bosnian pyramids. They've dug out these long trenches. They brought Egyptologists from Egypt, and the guy who came from Egypt, the professor, he comes in and he says, yeah, this is definitely a pyramid. I didn't know that. I was told that this was controversial. There's no way this is controversial. It's clearly a pyramid. And then on his way back to Egypt, he was arrested by the government. They told him they were going to take away his tenure, remove him from professorship. And the only way, and then they were going to arrest him if he didn't, and keep him in jail if he didn't just say it's not a pyramid. It's like, oh, I guess I was wrong. I guess it's not a pyramid. Please leave me alone.
Right.
So
the Bosnian pyramid?
Yeah, if he admitted that the Bosnian pyramid was really a pyramid, like he had been doing, because he didn't know any better. He just goes there, looks at it, he's like,
it's a heretic.
If we just say, hey, those Bosnian pyramids are real pyramids, that's a felony.
Oh, dude, careful. We're going to get this video taken down. Yeah. He's trying to monetize on Facebook. What are you doing? That's it. We can talk about COVID stuff sooner than we can talk about that.
Seriously, this is what I found out with the Tartaria stuff. Because at first I was thinking we should just look at stuff that's at least over 100 years old, because fake news gets you in trouble. So I should go so far back that it doesn't bother anybody. Little did I realize how much these narratives establish the authority to have monopoly of violence or profit over people, right? And so this is why Bosnia is like a UN protectorate, essentially. And also, when I went through the inner zone, I don't even want to say it because I feel like we're going to ruin the surprise, or I want the money from this, but there are more pyramids in Bosnia, in the interzone. When you drive through the border out of Bosnia, Serbia, usually you go right to another border. It's like the borders are right next to each other, like Checkpoint Charlie. But here, there's miles of land before you get to Kosovo, right? And those miles are in the mountains. And in those mountains, they're like, CIA safe houses and dictators' private lands and maybe some gypsies. But it's mostly
like a gray zone. Like you're no longer in any country for those.
Correct. You're in an interzone. Yeah, and it's
like one of the Burroughs books.
And it's protected by the UN completely. It's not a joke. It's straight up, and it's weird. It's a weird feeling to be not
like
in
maritime law. Like what's the law that gets applied in interzones?
Well, so when you go to Kosovo, you'll notice that there are statues that look North Korean about Bill Clinton, because they love Bill Clinton for airstriking the hell out of Kosovo and Serbia.
Oh shit!
They're straight up.
Is that real? You saw that?
Never heard of it. Bill Clinton statue in Kosovo. Hold on, you gotta see this. They have a lingerie shop called Hillary's just below the thing too.
Oh yeah, you were sharing this. I just saw this recently. Was that from you? I must have been. Yeah. I
imagine. Yeah. So there's this freaking statue of him holding his the 15th
how do you even know that's
tablet.
Bill Clinton, though? There's no saxophone or anything.
Well, because just below it, if you go down this building, if you go down here a little bit, let me see if we can find it. Hillary, Kosovo. Here it is. There's a lingerie shop just down the street called Hillary's that sells.
And this is based on Hillary Clinton.
It says Hillary too. That's like Audrey too. This is like
there's multiple Hillarys in that area, and they sell women's clothes that are inspired by Hillary Clinton's outfits. And the street is Bill Clinton Boulevard, which is just next to George Bush Boulevard.
You're saying there's multiple stores called Hillary. Are they literally called Hillary and Hillary 2 and 3, or are they all called Hillary 2? Because I like it much better if they're all called Hillary 2.
No, there's one that's called Hillary.
There was a link for Donald Trump on that site too. So are they just hedging all their bets? Does everyone get a statue in a lingerie shop?
Yeah, you want to see? This is George Bush Boulevard right here, and it's spelled like that. George Bush. Right? That's
what do you need to do to get a street name here? Who do you got to bomb?
You got to bomb somebody. You got to airstrike the hell out of the Serbian village. Yeah,
crazy stuff with children in the third world, and you'll get your
there's a lot of human trafficking there. There's a lot of tobacco trafficking, a lot of organ trafficking. There's just a lot of traffic also. Like just driving at night into the town, it's just filled with people. But they're all 18 to 20 years old. They're all getting paid 90s minimum wage of $2 an hour. I really like Kosovo. I mean, not for all those reasons, but
I like how you
We need shirts like I was trafficked on Bill Clinton Boulevard.
Dude, we should make a song. Actually, I think
all I got was the shirt.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to ask about the Nubian pyramids. What do you know about that, Andreas?
What's a Nubian? Sorry, I had to do it.
Well, there's the argument that on the Great Seal, the pyramid that we see, that it's actually closer in its depiction to a Nubian pyramid than it is an Egyptian. I don't know the validity of that. Are you hip to that?
So, I mean, pyramid's an interesting term because what do you think pyramid means, right? It doesn't mean triangle. It doesn't have to do with the shape. It has to do with pyre. So there's fire on the inside. So the question really has to do with, when you're defining a pyramid, what was its function? Was it functionally a ziggurat where there were fires kept in a temple on the inside of the pyramid for some sort of religious or we think maybe technological purpose? And, building wise, you look at the Mesoamerican pyramids, they're closer to Sumerian ziggurats, right? Which is interesting because it kind of means that they're pre-Talmudic Babylonian Talmud period, so before the 600 BC period. And our questions about the Egyptian pyramids get weird because are they as old as we think they are, or are they built on a much older thing far more recently, even maybe reusing blocks that were already there? And we can look at the Ethiopian flood because there's no fourth season in Egypt. There's 3 seasons. There's dry season, there's wet season, there's harvest season. And the dry season happens when it snows in Ethiopia and then it stops the water flow. And then wet season and rain and flood season happen when it's warm in Ethiopia. And then the ice and the snow melts and it flows down from Ethiopia into the Nile, which comes into Egypt. And then that saturates everything with greenery. And so then they have the harvest season. But there was a period where they diverted the water for the purpose of the Nile towards Giza. And when that happened, there's a lot of evidence that they were using papyrus and animal skin hide sacks to float stones, which is way easier to do than anti-gravity technology. It's totally possible that they had, but Occam's razor here. They were using and diverting water for this purpose, which was during the period of Yuya. Yuya is a lot of time considered to be Joseph, right? In the Bible, because the Hyksos came in from Yu-Gi-Oh. Come on, guys. I mean, that would be good to talk about too. But yeah, so Yuya became the great royal wife of Amenhotep III, and then the second priest of On, the high priest of Heliopolis, as you found, David, is On, and Joseph. You can even look who was Joseph, the mummy patriarch. There's a whole. I think they've removed it now. They've kind of removed it from Wikipedia, but the link is still there. And so you can read all about the idea of the patriarch of Joseph and the mummy of Joseph and how it was removed and stolen. And Joseph Smith actually ended up with Yuya's mummy. So there's a whole thing here. But this led to Aachen. And by the way, it ended up being either burned or it's at the Niagara Falls, at the Niagara Falls Gift Shop Museum is probably where Yuya ended up. But
hey, I put something in the private chat there. You've probably seen it. We may have discussed it at some point, but how to open a Stargate portal. I wonder. I'm curious as to the legitimacy of this.
I mean, well, I'll have to watch this video, but look at that plasmoid that you're showing right there, and the idea of an EMF plasmoid. This is basically the kind of information that they're talking about at the Bosnian pyramid. That certain kinds of crystalline material that comes together if you use certain kinds of stone, particularly mixing together to make like a concrete pour that has the right kind of calcium and allows for crystalline structures. You can quartz crystal to actually form. Hey, look, there she is, the Bosnian pyramid.
I mean, wouldn't we want to know it because you could. If we were to dig in to excavate more into this pyramid, you'd be most interested in the tip, would you not? I mean, the whole argument, would be that it would at some point have been.
You mean the capstone?
I mean the capstone. There's an argument
because that's the most ephemeral part of the entire structure would be the capstone.
So they've circumcised the capstone. You can kind of.
I mean, this is the argument that people have made for the Egyptian pyramids that the gold that covered them, which used to be sleek, right, was mined to build Cairo. So that, and what was at the top of it was crystal in nature, supposedly, and that they'd have you could put one capstone on, move that, put another capstone on, for other purposes at different times. Probably during the Venus eclipse, I would imagine it happens twice every 100 years, within 10 years of each other, give or take, whatever that is. And so, I mean, people go into the king's chamber like every day, or I don't know about now, but I know historically, like in recent times, tourists would want to see that beam go through that there's a structural shaft in the top of the pyramid that at a certain point in the day, it has a beam of light that moves through the room. We've discussed it before. They mimicked it at the Lucis Trust headquarters at the UN, where they have a meditation hall that is dark except for the single beam that people will sit and they'll meditate. And so there's a point in the day where it actually would hit the sarcophagus, which was never used to house a mummy. No mummies were ever found in the pyramids in Egypt. They were in the Valley of the Kings. Those sarcophaguses were empty. So they're probably, I mean, we could speculate, but apparently they're used for initiation purposes. So I don't know. You're muted.
Well, I'm just saying there's a little grift going on in the background for F-chat, but people are saying, I hear the sphere, it was there to make it a golden ratio instead of a capstone, like a massive sphere. Maybe there was a sphere on top of it. There's also the story that September 11th, 2001, helicopters flew over Giza and poured liquid gold on top of the tips of the Giza pyramids. And there's been a couple examples of photos of those floating around on the internet. I'm not sure if they're completely real. But
I've heard
during the Pink Floyd concert. Sorry.
Well, this was because the Masons wanted to put a gold capstone on it as well, and they had it all planned out, and then I guess Egypt decided no at the last second, so that there were like these covert operations to like temporarily put a gold capstone on it.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite. I think they were covered in gold. The portal won't work if you just put gold on the capstone. You need crystal there. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's I think this video you've got, I'll have to watch because it looks pretty much exactly right. You know, this idea of you explain this picture right here real quick.
Well, you're looking at Tetragrammaton later. So yeah, see, there's 72 names of God. So this is the gematria of this equals 72. So this relates to what is it called? It's been a while. I forget what it's called right now. It's Tetragrammaton laid out. There's another name, Tactus. You probably know it, Thomas. I can't think. What is that called? There's a name for that.
The Tetractus, right?
The Tetractus. Thank you. There it is. Here's your explanation on Wikipedia. But yeah. Pythagoras used this to argue.
Which is why you get 72 virgins, which actually means something completely different than the way it's translated. Sorry, everybody. But
this
actually,
I think
you're better off.
This is also the game that you play at Cracker Barrel when you wait for your meal.
Virgin magnets. That's what this is about, right? Yeah, people have a hard time with that one because they want it to be about something way different than it is. But it's magnetism. I mean, as they show, there's like 28 hertz signals, and they're able to pick up all these crazy signals. When we went into the caverns of the pyramid, first off, it's like 300 times, well, was it twice as big or something? It's way bigger than the average pyramids of Giza. It's big. It's the biggest pyramids in the world. It's also the tunnels are way more perfectly straight to each other, going all the way through the base of the thing. It's like you could shoot a laser right through from one end to the other end. Right?
That's in the Mexican pyramids as well, right? And it's super.
But it's bigger than them. But yes.
Right. But the same premise. And I've read somebody's account at one point who would actually, like, tourists do this. It's kind of extreme, but you can go through a tunnel at the pyramid, and it's if you're claustrophobic, man, it's freaking terrifying. But yeah, there's like a direct tunnel directly through the thing, right?
Yeah, I don't know how terrifying. I wouldn't call this. I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
If you're claustrophobic, is what I'm saying.
I've gone through some claustrophobic circumstances, like when I went with Stellium 7 and we went through the giant fossilized elephant mountain. There were some moments there where I was like, you've seen that video where the guy gets his head stuck and he dies. I mean, when you're crawling through a tiny tube, there's a dude who was crawling through a tunnel and he got his head stuck in just the right place. Where's the one tunnel?
You're talking about a pyramid snuff film? Is this?
No, this is the. This is the one. Where's that picture right there?
He zigged when he should have zagged.
Oh, no.
Yeah, this guy right here. Oh man, I want to find that picture. It's hard to find. Basically, he put his head. Yeah, there it is, right here. This guy died in the most horrible way, and I feel so bad about it. It's not even funny.
Oh god.
Because he went to the wrong place, and they couldn't get him out of the thing. He was stuck in there, right? And that's how he died. Maybe this one survived, hopefully, but I don't know. The one
God, Fafo, man, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And so I went through a tunnel like that with Stellium 7. It was really that was the most claustrophobic I've ever been. And I've been spelunking and Moaning Cavern and Angel Camp and all these places around California. I've been through some pretty small
what did you
places.
Do? Angel? You mean where they did the dead shows? What are you talking about?
Yeah. There's a giant. There's a called Moaning Cavern. You know about Moaning Cavern?
No, I've been to Angel Camp. I don't know about Moaning Cavern. Tell me about it.
So Moaning Cavern used to moan because it had no building on top of it, and so the wind would rise across it, and it would go. Ooh! It was a spooky ass noise that the Gold Rush people would hear from this.
And
like,
someone
sound.
built on top of it and ruined it.
Yeah, totally. But ruined.
Was it Avery himself, or was it? I mean, who else built at Angel Camp besides that guy Avery? I don't even know. See. Just
there's inside of it. It's actually
that's at Angel Camp.
Yeah, for sure.
No way.
And I went through there with the boy.
Excuse me. Oh god.
Sorry.
Why does this happen to me? Why does this happen to me?
You're on Facebook also. Damn it.
Yeah, that's the worst possible thing that could happen. All right, well, we'll figure it out.
That was a classical art piece from the 17th century, I believe. That wasn't
correct. I believe.
Hopefully that moved quick enough. I don't even know who to blame. Kill the stream. A serious man says I might have to on Facebook, but I'll roll the dice for a second and see what happens. Here's the spiral. Will it survive? Here's the spiral staircase inside.
You're telling me this is at Angel Camp? My mind is kind of blown.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay,
and look how like steampunk and Tartarian it is. And because I was a pretty, I was an Eagle Scout. I was a boy. Not the time. I was just a first. The hell's the names of these things? I forget now. Like first Boy Scout. What's it called? God, it's been so long since I've been a Boy Scout. I don't even remember the name. Like the first, the thing that you become, Class A. Whatever levels. What was it?
That's just
ranks.
Indoctrination to get you to be prepared to be a Mason. That's just rich people being like, well, we want
first class.
To get a fraternal introduction.
Yeah, I was first class. It goes Scout, second class, Star, Eagle, right?
Oh.
So yeah, so you go through these different things. So I was in the first class, and we were pretty. We'd done a lot of these kind of things before. So let's go deeper than most people were ever allowed to go into Moaning Cavern. And it's super tight and narrow, and it's just difficult to crawl around and everything. So I'm not really that claustrophobic. But when we go to like the tunnels, which are just straight, flat, perfect tunnels in the Bosnian pyramid, you just kind of like, there's a couple places that they haven't dug out completely. So you have to like duck your head in a couple spots. But mostly it's like pretty big and open. And there's tons of old people walking around trying to heal themselves with their holistic, hippy-dippy, new age ionic breeze, right? And a lot of people, I felt great in there. We had our friend Martin, and he has like a cleft nostril, all because he's, German soldier. He's been in the military forever. He's got all kinds of issues, but he's a pretty healthy guy. Goes inside there. All of a sudden, his nose just opens up. He's breathing perfectly. We have good vibes, good energy. We're using the phone app to check for frequencies, and they have like the 28 hertz completely. It's amazing, really, how great you can feel there. And then all of the water, they have this great Ormus magnetic water that comes from.
Where's the 28 hertz coming from?
So what's the deal with the 28 hertz again? Is it just because of the crystals and the like Earth radiation? Like it's like Schumann resonance. That all the resonance come together to create the 28 hertz or something. I don't know. I have the video of the guy talking about it. We'll have to watch it again. But it was just.
It just means that something is happening every 28 or 28 times every second. But like, what is that something?
I don't know yet. That's the thing. We're still studying it.
I want to, if I may, I'd like to share a quick sideline story about my experience at Angel Camp. So like a friend of mine, who I think you might know, Alexei, he basically saw that there was this festival happening at Angel Camp, and he signed up to do the catering for it, like solely. Like we were the only caterers there, so he just loaded up on all this food, buffalo burgers and pizza, all this stuff, and we went out there with like a small group of people, and it was the end of the dubstep era, right? So he was like, "Dubstep's coming up. We're gonna make all this money." Da 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 da. Just less than a quarter of the people that were supposed to turn up in his estimation actually showed up. So it's just like,
what do you mean? That's timeless. That genre is timeless.
With all this, yeah. Well, anyway, this is
starting to happen here now.
Can last for 3 decades.
So the people I went there with, not Alexei, but all these, the crew, they all just drank vodka the whole time. One of them was Russian. They just got drunk off their asses. And me and another friend ended up like working the whole weekend without sleep. I got like less than 2 hours, I think, of the entire weekend actual sleep. I just worked the whole thing. And while I was working, we set up around this tire swing. So I was taking people's money and like giving them the food through a tire that I had like looped up and done like a thing with, just so we could work around this tire. So like I incorporated it. And at the end of the thing, this old man, like, who lived in it, who's like been there since back in the day when the Grateful Dead used to play there, and Jerry used to stay there when he would detox. This is his detox spot, right? So I slept in the same bed as Jerry used to detox in, apparently. This old man told me that. But he said that he was watching me the whole time, making jokes with people. I was like I was making people eggs, and I was like, "Lord, I was born a scrambling man, trying to make an omelet, and I'm doing the best I can," this whole thing. And he was like, I wanted to say something, but like, he's like, "Dude, that tire swing is hanging from the spot that Avery, the man who built this place without a single nail, these large wooden structures that were all like, the masonry of it was such that no metal was used. It's just all fit, But he was like, I didn't want to say anything. But Avery, the guy who built this place, hung himself from that limb of that tree. And so like I was like joking and like just incorporating the tire swing. He's like, we put that tire swing there because that's where it happened, and it was in front of Jerry's room, like right in front of it. It's like this whole crazy thing. So like, I don't know, man. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. There's more to the story, but I'll leave it at that. But I didn't know that there was a freaking cave there or anything like that they built on top of. That's nuts. Good to know.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Money Cavern's one of the deeper caves in the area, and it's got definitely some interesting energy as well. But yeah, I mean, basically the other crazy thing about the Bosnian pyramids are the ceramic, because it's super ancient ceramic that's older than any other example. And the Vinci culture are known for having copper working before the Bronze Age. So they have really interesting metallurgy and apparently processes that no one understands how they had them at that time. And what,
the pyramids were just abandoned for 6 or 7 centuries?
You mean the Bosnian pyramids?
Yeah, the Bosnian, because you said
the
last one was active was like the 12th century.
So they have weird prototypical, like Bach Saga-esque runes that they found on the inside of the pyramid. And from the best translators they could find, it sounds like something from the dwarfs in The Lord of the Rings. They're like, they're coming. We've closed the door, kind of a thing. Like they're like, we burrowed it up, we caved it in, we've tried to close it off so that no one can get on the inside of the pyramid. And these stones are, as old as anything else that we have. Essentially, they're far linguistically, clearly far older than Scandinavian Viking runes are. They're prototypical runes. So
we do need to blow it up to get under it.
Well, that's what we did in Egypt, right? We used dynamite to get inside of it, which is kind of crazy.
Exactly.
But
but once you get in, then there's just these long tubes which are filled mostly. They're still excavating because they're filled with river rocks and just like mud, essentially. But then you can pull it up, and then you get to the walls, and the walls are ceramic. So there's a lot of weird stuff inside there, and it's easy for them to excavate it because they're really just pulling out stuff that's filled the tubes completely. And once you do, it's just straight shots back and forth with solid walls on either side, which they don't really need to support, but they have wood as levels to show you how deep you're going. They have like, this is now 100 meters, this is now 200 meters, this is now 300 meters, you're nearly to 400 meters. It's just crazy how deep it allows you to go, essentially.
Wow.
Yeah. I like those pyramids. That was pretty cool. It's pretty good stuff.
I feel like we still have American pyramids that are undervalued.
You mean like the
mound, like Snake Mound?
I thought you meant like the base the bass fish, right?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
The Bass Shop Pyramid in Las Vegas.
Oh,
right. This is my favorite pyramid. It's kind of like the Fry's Electronics of the pyramids. It's this giant.
That shut down recently, by the way. The Fry's.
Oh God, yeah, that was sad. That was super sad.
That's real. That's what I don't know about that.
You know the Bass Shop? Yeah, the Bass Shop is with Ducks Unlimited right on the front of it. Yeah, okay. This is for real, and it's a pyramid, like in the literal sense, because there's a huge inside with energy at the center of it, right? So it's actually it's pyre. Yeah, outdoor world. This is the most famous outdoor world in the world. You know?
Did we talk about the Vegas sphere on here? I can't remember if I was just talking with Bill or we discussed it on the show.
I mean, about the Pepsi shooter, or which one? What do you want to say?
No, the Vegas sphere.
The Wizard of Oz thing.
They just showed the Wizard of Oz there. I think it's already happened, right?
Bill had mentioned that he wanted to see them do a sync film there.
Right. So they screwed us over in a way because I have no qualms with what they did with the Wizard of Oz, where they like enhanced it in all these different ways. Like, I don't care as long as you can still watch the original, as long as they don't replace it and it's like, oh, this is what you got, like they tried and George Lucas it or something. But like, you know, like they changed the timing of the movie, so it's like 20 minutes or something like different. So you can't just like, because otherwise I would go in there, if they're not going to just play it with Dark Side of the Moon, like I would put on headphones to experience that, you know, and like try and get the timing right with the third roar or whatever. But I just want to say, like, that sphere, like what it is, like it kind of like, I feel like the future of where that's headed is like totally to do with virtual reality, that people will literally like kind of like get jacked in it to whatever's happening at the sphere. So, because you know, you go to concerts and you have this experience, like the closest you could get if you're not physically there, like it seems like you could replicate the sphere experience with the VR goggles. But like there's something really like a clephotic version of like the Kaaba at Mecca, like what the pilgrimage and the treatment that people will make the pilgrimage, but like by praying towards the Kaaba, you're like connecting yourself to these people who are making the pilgrimage. So it feels like this like substitute reality like version of the thing, where it's like this is like the United States like Mecca in like a technocratic like nightmare, where it's just like I'm just visualizing like a future where people are like getting like jacked into this experience that's like imitating prayer, where they're like just like experiencing whatever everyone's experiencing at the sphere. Like, keep in mind, between the two towers in New York, there was a sculpture that rotated every 24 hours to replicate, according to the builder, the architect, who is the chief architect of the two towers themselves. He designed this. So you go to Wikipedia, look up the sphere. Like, so speaking of like Wikipedia, like changing things, like Wikipedia used to explicitly say, I have screenshots of it, where it had a quote from the guy who built the sphere saying that it was meant to imitate the Kaaba at Mecca, and that the reason why it rotated every 24 hours was to imitate the people on the pilgrimage who would encircle the cube at Mecca, right? The Kaaba. So like the relationship of this to that, like there, like it feels like the sphere in Vegas is like somehow like imitating the same thing that the sphere between the two towers was imitating. And it's like, you know, its future has to do with this like imitation of like prayer and the Kaaba. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of an insane thought, but like everyone facing it with their goggles, it's like, you know, so to speak, it's like the equivalent of people praying towards the Kaaba. Like it's like some weird like American Muslim clephotic.
People get really weird about Islam, man, and that's one of the things I liked about the cigarette smoking Bosniak Muslim girls. You know, like they're pretty, and then they kind of like relax you about it, because basically you got this Abramic religion that after the exodus of the Jews first to Babylon, there's a change in the religion, and then after their exodus to the Hellenic places where Neoplatonic concepts like Abraham in the cave as a child is Plato's cave. It's Abraham in Plato's cave. So you've got I mean, not for everybody, but for Hellenic Jews, it totally became a merger of ideas. But the Muslims, the Christians, and the Jews really do have these shared, at least if you watch VeggieTales, it's all Old Testament stuff that could be for Muslims, Christians, or Jews. And you got Jacob's ladder, and you got this idea that he laid his head upon a stone, and the stone is either the Kaaba for the Kaaba Allah, like Kabbalah. Is a lot of Muslims will try to take credit for the Kabbalah and say Kabbalah is Kaaba Allah, right? But also the scone stone, because you've got this whole idea that Britain had early Jews, that the Scandinavians were sort of this one of the lost tribes, which is why they had the lions on the shield, the mark of Dan from the tribe of Dan. And the scone stone is where every king or queen of England has been crowned, is on top of what they think is Jacob's.
Well, people will do that with all of those ancient sacred sites, right? So they'll be like, this is the stone where Abraham was going to, kill Isaac, but his hand was stopped by Metatron or whatever. Or they'll treat it that the stone that's the mount, of the temple, that was where Yaakov laid his head. And it depends on who you talk to. I mean, there's something to be said for just the way that different people relate to these religions, and how this, just because you can recognize the intent or the symbolism for one group doesn't mean that Sharia law doesn't exist and that there's not this psychopathic thing taking place.
But there's there's a whole thing there too, because after Josiah and Second Kings in the Bible, you got this like 8-year-old king Josiah, and then the Cohen priests take over and they kill all of the other tribes' religious leaders, which are both priests and priestesses. So they get rid of all of the people that were believing in the family of God and the idols. They push in this story that Abraham is super against the idols, which the Muslims love, this idea that God is without form and that we're not made in the image of God necessarily. I mean, we are, but they don't look at it the same way. Like Mormons are like, dude, God's a dude in a business suit who shakes your hand. And Muslims are like, no, they are light or something, But this is something that's very, this change for the Jewish religion, because it used to be there's a family, the Elohim are talking to each other, they're hanging out. God has a wife, Asherah. This whole thing is really confusing for our adaptation process. And you've got the Jewish law that mixes with the Talmud. I mean, the Babylonian Talmud, because after the Exodus, after the fall of the Second Temple. So you've got the Jewish law with the Talmud, but then the Talmudics also influence Sharia. Sharia is very Talmudic to a level, because there's a kind of Muslim that believes you have to only get what you understand from the recitation of God's word, which is where Protestants get that idea. Because most of the European Protestants, particularly of South Saxony and Lutherans and everything, they're from regions that were controlled by Muslims at a certain point. And the Muslims' idea that this is the recitation of God, like a voicemail that Allah has given you, that's what modern Protestant Christians think about.
This drives me nuts a little bit, just because what I see online and the treatment of when you say something's Talmudic, you're describing something that's literally an ongoing debate. That's like next level debate. Like these are like Charlie Kirk, whatever. Like these are master debaters, right? So like it's Twitter. It's ancient Twitter. Like it's literally these arguments that are meant to be extreme, and then as a kind of a systematic way to get to the articulation of what ought to be, in
isn't the Islamic version of that like the Hadiths?
I don't know. I'm not hip to it like Andreas apparently is, but
it's like this collection of very controversial writings, but it's essentially a series of different thought experiments. I guess that's these are the watered down.
An argument can go for up to like 100 pages before a rebuttal happens, and so that's Go ahead.
The Sunni and the Shiite both have different ideas of this, like whether or not you have to believe just in the word of God, or whether or not you believe in the Twitter battles that happen between imams or rabbis, right? And some people I think it's smart to read those things, but you should only take humans as far as you can throw them. And some of these are pretty big guys. So you wouldn't necessarily want to believe everything that a man said. And this is, I think a lot of people get confused and upset at me because they think that I'm like I'm critical of God because I'm critical of religious men. But you have to be critical of religious men because they have their own flavors and manipulations of what they're experiencing because it's all empirical. So you have to look, you have to look back a little bit and say, okay, there's a lot of value you can get from rabbis. There's a lot of value you can get from imams, but there are some circles that think those are just as good as getting information from the prophets or from God itself. And I think you should be very careful about that because that's the thing that leads to war the most. Whereas people that think, you know what, all of us might have gotten a little confused here because I can only see one part of God and you can only see another part of God because we're standing in different places at time and space. And we have different ideologies that form us and make us up. So yeah, religiously, that's, I think, what really defined the Sunni movement more than anything else, which is similar to what happened to the Deuteronomists, which were the Jews that really felt like, hey, we need to focus on what the priestcraft is. We need to talk about what these rabbis are saying. We need to figure out these ways of worship. But what happened with that? You've got religious groups that say, how do we manipulate this to be in our favor? If I cut a chicken's head off over my head, will that work as an atonement sacrifice? I mean, a lot of people believe that that's totally fine because some guy said so, not because they read that God said so.
Well, the humor element is lost too. Like that's the thing, is that there's humor in the Talmud, just like there's humor in all sorts of ancient texts, like where their treatment of it. So like the scapegoat ritual, every ancient bit of text that I've come across that goes over the scapegoat ritual makes fun of it. Like they don't take the concept seriously, which makes me feel kind of strange about like a lot of the ancient things with anthropology. I'm like, is this like, there's certain examples where I'm like, is this just a joke? Like, are they just like laughing at this whole thing? Like, and then we later on are like giving this treatment of it. Like, it's just like how superstitious ancient people were when they're just like, I don't even know. Like, it's weird.
Well, isn't every single religious and ancient text ever the equivalent of some guy said so? But that's all we've got is just a series of some guy said so.
Right. So like if you look at like Talmudic arguments, there's like the 10 commandments are set in stone, right? Like, or sapphire or whatever.
Right. Even that is some guy said so.
Sure. I'm not gonna argue against that. But what I am gonna illustrate is that this is something that some guy said so that they've settled on, that this is what it is. We don't, and it's like a means of ensuring that what they believed would allow for the longevity of their group. Like these are certain things that we have, like it's like the Constitution for them or something. It's like, this is what it is. So when you look at the Talmud, these are solid. These are just these 10 commandments are like, we're not changing this. This is into forever, but we're going to argue over all this other stuff endlessly. And we're going to give like the most extreme arguments we can come up with. And then from there, like narrow it down to something that makes sense. So it really reads
because
like,
some Freemasons said so. Totally. Because the accepted believe me bro script. Yeah, exactly. The accepted believe me bro script. That's exactly what it is. And also the idea
the
that
thing is
didn't
that
Moses
it's
smash
the
God's
the
10
Talmud,
commandments?
the Talmud is the opposite of that, because you're at no point is anything in the Talmud like settled unless you're talking about the 10 commandments. So it's like this is all open for ongoing.
But even that is the argument, because Moses smashes when he gets down to the mountain from getting God's message and he sees the golden calf, that the Cohenites, like we're talking about the Deuteronomists again, Cohen is Aaron, the Aaronic priesthood, they're worshiping a golden calf because God's nowhere. He's busy talking to Moses. And when Moses comes down, he's like, dude, you guys are worshiping a golden calf, smashes God's word. And then he goes and he writes his own commandments.
Whatever that was. That's the Hebrew. So we've discussed this. Yes. So like I took the time to transcribe that from the Hebrew and go over it. And you can clearly see if you look at the particulars and you don't just take a translation for the like even the translation, you can see it. But if you go into the particulars and you see what's actually said, it's this elaborate event where Moses receives whatever it was that he received. We don't get to know.
We don't need to know what that was.
The book of Exodus, what it is that he actually had, that he brought down Sinai, and he sees the people and he smashes that who knows what, and he goes
could be more than 10,
and he wrote the commandments with his own hand, because clearly they weren't ready in his judgment for whatever that was. It wasn't God's judgment that smashed the commandments. It was Moshe Rabbeinu. So he made that decision for everybody else. So it is a joke. Like I'm convinced that that's humor. Like it feels like you didn't need Mel Brooks to do the history of the world part, whatever, like it's already there. Like, and it's funny as hell because he's just like, he's just angry. And like even you'll see these old depictions of Moses with these like ram's horns because it's due to a mistranslation, because it's like, this what was
the
around
halo
his
in
head,
the
but it also speaks to his aggressiveness. So he was pissed off. So he's just like, screw you guys. Like we look what we just went through. And it makes sense if you look at the story. It's like, dude, the freaking the Red Sea parted. You guys were like liberated. And now what are you going to do? You're going to do the same thing you were doing in Egypt, because these people were participating in Egyptian,
What do you think about the astrotheological explanation of the ram's horns? That it wasn't a mistranslation, that it's a nod towards him reigning in Aries.
Even as I'm speaking, whenever you talk about a mistranslation, when it comes to the Tanakh or beyond, even the New Testament, there's like plenty of examples of this in the Greek. But you can see that it's not like our treatment is very left brain, where we're like, did it mean this or did it mean this? And oftentimes it can mean 20, 30 things at once. It's a Rubik's Cube. It's how you want to relate to it. And it's also musical. It's song, it's poetry, it's all this other stuff. So it's like, like it's not meant to be related.
That sounds like a bunch of hippy dippy crap, and I need
did you see like Uber Boyo?
Come on, dude.
Uber Boyo had a post about this at one point recently, where they showed the pictures of a German brain versus a Arabic brain, like someone who speaks Hebrew and Arabic, and the way.
Even when I look at this, I'm like, which one of those is the right one? Right? Like one of these two is objectively better than the other one. I just don't know which one it is.
Why do you think that? Like, isn't it better to have 3 different flavors of macaroni and cheese so you can sell more products? Native speakers of German on the red, Arabic speakers, which also includes Hebrew, on the right. And look at the crossover. There's a lot more interhemispheric left temporoparietal network connecting semantic language in the Semitic languages versus these very logical, there's a word for everything kind of German language, which means either this is this or not. Then it's that. There's a word for that.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different way of looking at things, which is a European modern European concept. It's not necessarily that ancient German or Old English was like this, actually, in Anglo-Frisian either. Things that were a lot more, Bach Saga, bro. Bach Saga.
Everything is like this, dude. I just saw like this Twitter post about Nicole Shanahan had been to Burning Man 8 years. I also went to Burning Man for 8 years, but Nicole Shanahan was talking. It was somebody making a leap, and I don't know if it was her too discussing it, but they're like, she says that Washington needs an exorcism. She has said that, and then they were like, she also
Abby Hoffman did that with the
lifting
of the Pentagon.
There you go. She has mixed feelings about Burning Man now. So she's like, is it demonic? And like my treatment of Burning Man, my experience of helping to build one of the largest sound camps at Burning Man 8 years in a row, usually staying for at least 2 to 3 weeks at a time to experience that. I feel like Burning Man is everything all at once. And I said this before, and I'll say it again, that I feel like whatever experience you want Burning Man to be for you, you can kind of make that happen. So if you want to be a vegan raw foodist the whole time and just go out there and do yoga all day, you can have that experience. Or if you want to go there and just, get drunk off your ass and eat burgers too, like you can do that too. Like, it's like whatever this is. And like, what it is what you bring to it. Just like any psychedelic, like the psychedelic doesn't work the same way as like I went to go see this movie and you're just completely like like an audience member, like you are a participant no matter what. So that means that what mindset and everything that you bring to it and the actions that you bring to it make the experience what it is for you. And it's like, what are you bringing to this? So it's like demons, angels, like
we have this weird idea of what demons are. And you have to I hope we're the Orthodox right now with their Greek translation, because eudaimonia from the idea of a deity, like daimon meaning spirit or deity. It doesn't necessarily mean evil by any means, but we've kind of, because of modern Christianity, misused the word. And then for utopia, eudaimon mean good, well spirit. So a eudaimon versus a dysdaimon or something would be a better way to describe a good spirit or a bad spirit. Pokemon. Yeah, there's probably something there. I really quickly wanted to show a couple comments right here. So the 15 commandments, you were talking about Mel Brooks' movie. I think it's funny because there's also the idea it's way more than 15. There's the idea that there's 613 parts of God. 42 in the divine maxims, but maybe 613 seeds in a pomegranate, 613 laws for Judaism, 613 parts of the human body, 613 parts of God. So it could have been like these were like way smaller fine print written things. These are what led to the arguments of these religious priests saying they need to interpret the law in all these ways, which is exactly what happened with the Muslims, which is exactly, I mean, first the Jews, then the Muslims, and now Christians are definitely, you have all of these schismatic groups of Christians that have their different ways of interpreting God's law. I wanted to also pull up, where did I put the page a second ago? We were looking at the F chat, and then Flora, which is, I love you, Flora, said, God is beyond human comprehension. But I kind of tongue in cheek said, sounds Muslim, another Christian, but sounds Muslim, but because that's the way they look at, they say it's an impersonal thing that can't be understood by God. Quake then says, definitely beyond words, to which I reply, in the beginning, the word was God, but the more you look into it, it's not necessarily that God is supposed to be completely beyond comprehension. The Lord would speak to Moses face to face as one speaks to a friend. In Corinthians, the Spirit searches all things, even the deep things of God. We have received the Spirit so that we may understand what God has freely given us. There's a lot of stuff that says it's not just incomprehensible Freemasonic secrets or orthodoxy mystery that you're not allowed to question or consider or discuss. It's actually, there are holes in the hand of Jesus that you're supposed to investigate and be able to see for yourself. Faith is not about something you can't prove. Actually, faith is based on something you can prove. It's a complete hypothesis based in spiritual reality, not just in denial of the material, but in the acceptance of, the entire yoke between all things. Based. Okay, yeah. So just keep going to F chat because it's a fun conversation.
I have to say something because it's today. Today is the burning of the temple. So Friday was the burning of the man.
Happy
okay.
birthday.
So the burning of the temple to me is the only truth like event of Burning Man of like real significant value. Like the burning of the man and that whole ritual that surrounds it, to me, it feels like, just to be totally honest with what my perception and what my experience of it was. People are welcome to disagree with me, but I felt like it was taking power from what the people were bringing to Burning Man. Like the burning of the man itself, it feels like it's like that the event itself, like collectively, like everyone's putting all this energy into this thing. So you have like this nucleus, and it's something that everyone's kind of in touch with there. And when you burn the man, it's like it's giving you the sense that it's now been taken from you. Like everything, all of our work has now gone somewhere else. And it's like, it's not even, it might sound really bad, but it's almost like this is out of our control now. It's like if you pull back a bow and you let go and you're like, where is this going? Well, it's no longer mine. Like, it's a very strange thing. And I like my first year at Burning Man, I saw somebody run directly into the man, like into the fire, and kill themselves. Like, and we were all like, and it was after that year that you were no longer allowed to charge the man after it burnt. Like that was, that was the last time. What?
Or what? Like what's the punishment for running into the fire and killing yourself?
Not allowed. You're not able to get that close. They block it off. So there's like crews of, and there's like a fence type deal where it's like you're not allowed, like, because my first year, when the man collapsed, everyone rushed it. So, and I melted my shoes. So like I was like with a herd of people that we just like ran so close to the the coals. Like I was like, I couldn't believe it. I didn't even, you're just with a crowd of people and it's just so crazy. But as we were doing that, I watched somebody like run into the fire, and I'm like, did that just happen? Like I just watched somebody do that. But anyway, like I just want to say, like, there's something that takes place with that feels like, okay, now this release just happened and all of our collective energy is now gone somewhere else. Like that's been my experience year after year. But the temple, so there's two guys, there's Larry Harvey and there's another guy, I don't know his name, but the first time that they did Burning Man on the beach in San Francisco, Larry Harvey builds a man and he sets it on fire. This other guy builds a temple for his partner who had committed suicide. And so if you go to the temple, like you're going to see 1,000 messages more written throughout the week of two people's loved ones who have passed. So like, and each person has their personal connection to that temple. So there's an energetic thing that takes place. The temple, it feels to me like, because of what people bring to it, it feels like the most real magic I maybe have ever seen collectively happen in this world since I've been alive. Like, and you go there and like people will be like, you know, crying and like processing the death of their loved ones. So it's a processing thing that's like, whether it doesn't matter like if you like what you believe in necessarily, like it's just like the energy of that many people like covering it with messages to loved ones who have passed. Like there's something reconciling about the whole process for them. So like, and there's also a joke that you're not supposed to talk during the temple burn, and sometimes it's pretty quiet, but oftentimes almost always there's somebody who's talking and there's other people telling them to shut up. Shut the fuck up, which is so funny because it's the irony of like being like, oh, it's a sacred space, and people, but it doesn't matter. None of it matters because the thing is just happening no matter what. You know what I mean? Like it's got enough momentum of behind it, of all these people contributing to the art of that, and then like setting them on fire. Like, and people are leaving objects all over the thing for their loved ones who have passed. So there's a processing and a meditation that like that to me feels like really powerful. The man is another story. Like the man is like it's like this is supposed to be like the people's Bohemian Grove or whatever, but like it's built in the structure of Dionysian theater, right? So you have like where, you know, the arrangement is like this crescent, which would be the seats, you know, and then you'd have the stage is where the man is, and then beyond that is the temple. So, you know, tonight, I mean, it's probably happening right now, I don't know, but or later today, a few hours or something, they're going to burn the temple. So I don't know. I wanted to
exciting stuff.
Out. Yeah.
Well, it's funny when you say the people's Bohemian Grove, because Bohemian Grove originally was the people's Bohemian Grove, and then rich people took it over.
Well, Irish people even. Yeah, it's like the lowest of the low, you know.
Right. Well, it's been hijacked, whatever the case. And so Burning Man is now being hijacked, and it's been a while like that, you know. And I think the first shift that really happened with Burning Man, with it being kind of becoming this it wasn't what it could have been or what it should have been, although that's a value judgment, was when the Jiffy Lube people were told that they weren't allowed to have their art car on the playa. So there was like, you know, there's like a shift that happened where it was like Larry Harvey came out because there was this large debate on if they were allowed to have this particular offensive art car, and he said, no, you can keep it at your camp, but you're not allowed to bring it onto the playa. And as far as I know, that was the first time where like a real rule like that of censorship had been reached, you know. So I'm not saying that the Jiffy Lube thing was like this awesome, great thing. It's just like, oh, now they've said something's not allowed. Up to that point, I mean, you used to have the drive-by shooting range where people, like early Burning Man, where they would go and shoot AK-47s at 90 miles an hour, like just pummeling, and they still do it on 4th of July. But like, you know, and all the weird stuff. I mean, you know, it's just
they just call that I-4 in Florida.
Okay. Is there a drive-by shooting range in Florida?
It's called Interstate 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to pay the toll to get on and off that road, but it's still worth it.
You get a fast pass if you get on it frequently. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So wait, what have you been up to this week, Paranoid? Just real quickly, I'm curious. We should do like a.
It's funny you were talking about Burning Man, because last night I had an interview with the producer of America's Most Wanted. She also worked on a whole bunch of other shows, but she mentioned that she was there at the very first Burning Man and helped film the very first Burning Man. So like we talked about Burning Man for a while. So that was just like a cool sort of intro that you guys were getting into.
That's nice. Exciting. So what are you going to do with America's Most Wanted?
Well, I'm not going to be on it, but it's gone.
I hope not, because they're going to we haven't solved the crime. Thomas is,
Her name was Margaret Roberts, and she actually just put out a book last month called Blowback that is researching the Oklahoma City bombing, and she's one of the only people that actually got to interview Terry Nichols and the cellmate of Timothy McVeigh and a couple other people that no one else really had access to. So we were geeking out over Oklahoma City and Waco and Ruby Ridge.
That's exciting. All right. So you're gonna do some kind of an interview, hopefully, like with them in the future? Is that kind of a plan, you think?
I got an interview, but I've been working for, God, I don't want to say how many years, but I've been working for a long time on a Oklahoma City comic book, because there's so many things about like Timothy McVeigh. he liked X-Men and Star Trek, and he was a computer programmer. It's like this, like it's not the racist country bumpkin that just like to shoot guns and smoke meth. It's not that same sort of story. He claimed to have a microchip implanted in his butt when he was in Desert Storm. He talked about aliens, like he believed in Stargate. Like this is all real. These are all real things. There's a connection there to like Dr. Jolly West. There's so many endless things about this, and the comic book that I've been planning out. It's got like at least 6 different issues. One of the protagonists is someone named Peter Langdon, who's actually now named Donna Langdon, and this is one of the participants of the Oklahoma City bombing. And Peter Langdon, now Donna Langdon, is also the very first transgender federal prisoner in history, and like now she has this huge backing of support, like left-wing support, for like, oh my God, you know, like a trendsetter, trailblazer, the first person to have the government fund a reassignment surgery and go to like a women's prison, even though born, like all that, like she's this champion, but also is like a neo-Nazi right-wing extremist that helped bomb the Oklahoma City building, the J. Edgar Murrow building.
This is so there's like an interview we can listen, we can watch with this person.
It'll be out in 3 weeks.
Okay, sweet. Are you like visually representing things with what do you do?
I visually represent Timothy McVeigh, and like I dress up and like
a
little cloth.
I don't know. When you do a pre-recorded thing like that, it's cool if you can, you know, like because like Andreas will like share his screen and look up stuff in real time, but like, you know, if you're gonna wait 3 weeks, like, yeah, but I'm saying if you're gonna wait 3 weeks, like, you know, in that time, maybe you could, you know, do some visual illustration along with it or something. That's not, I don't know, whatever you do,
you'll have to see. You'll have to tune in and see.
Okay, I'll have to tune in and check it out. Okay.
If you want it, she was also recently on Tucker Carlson, so you can find her Tucker Carlson interview where they talk about a lot of this. But I wanted to go way deeper into PatCon and Jolly West and a few other like conspiratorial.
Jolly West was the notorious Dr. Green. Is that the same guy? Like, is that
that
killed an elephant?
Debatable. That's a Fritz Springmeier reference of like
killed an elephant with LSD.
He's the one that killed the elephant with LSD. He's the one that interviewed Jack Ruby after the JFK or after Lee Harvey Oswald got taken out, and allegedly he talked to Timothy McVeigh, and that was one of those things. It's like, well, there's not a lot of record. Well, Dr. Wendy Painting, who wrote Aberrations in the Heartland of the Real about Timothy McVeigh, she's the one that pointed out that Timothy McVeigh's legal counsel contacted Jolly West. There's some other like weird stuff, like when he was in there, claimed to have been like sheep dip. McVeigh got like selected by intelligence agencies to do these undercover FBI operations. That one of the covers was that he kept having his teeth operated on. Like he kept going to the dentist for all these like teeth issues, and the only like Dr. Jolly West wrote a paper called Dentistry in and the Effects of like a Depressed Psyche or something. The only thing he ever wrote in his entire career on dentistry, and it just happened to go along with exactly with the things that Timothy McVeigh was reporting. And
is it true, like as it's described in Inherent Vice, that when you do heroin or opioids in mass quantities, that that your teeth go all to hell because of the calcium issue or something? Doesn't it deplete your, like, people have to get false teeth oftentimes if they do heroin over a period? Am I correct? Is that, no? I don't know.
I've heard on meth, but on meth it's because of dehydration, that they'll tend to not drink enough water.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
That could be true. I still think you should be very careful because it fries your brain, but all right.
Whenever I do heroin or opium, I make sure I'm like well hydrated the entire time. Coconut water, organic coconut water.
Right. Totally. Or aloe. Yeah, that'll do it.
And
dude, I can't help myself. I'm like totally enraptured. If I should use the word rapture to talk about it, but the F chat conversation right now, because you got people talking about whether or not Christianity should be something where you act like you know nothing. You have to accept that you know absolutely nothing. So God is beyond comprehension. So you can't even question these things. And there's no way that you'll ever understand. That's what the popes for.
Church are the one, like the cat, like when you guys are describing the Talmud, or I brought up like the Hadith, the Catholic Church kind of has this, but theirs is more organized and theirs is more standardized, where it's like, all right, we got together and we decided X, Y, and Z, and here it is. I'm putting it in the book. So next time anyone questions this, we can open up to that page and be like, nah, this is what we've decided.
This is what kind of scares me, because like Orthodoxy will do exactly the same thing as the Catholics will do, the same thing as the Muslims will do. They're like, it's all about submission to God. Like, you know that Islam means submission to God, right? They're like, no, it's about lies and deceit.
But Orthodoxy is like whatever the oldest references is right, and then the Catholics are like, well, whatever one the Pope said was right, and then Mormons, it's like whatever we decided collectively 4 months ago is right.
Right. That's huge, actually. That's like something that's like really baffled me when it comes to any kind of esoterica involving secret societies of any sort, is that you always come across this conundrum of, because like I'm so naive, I thought that the oldest was generally taken as an authority. So if somebody, like, that's the thing with like the Zohar predicts 9/11, it's like, dude, they give a date, and then in the 18th century they clarify the date because of this discrepancy on the original text saying what that date is that this event happens, where these two strongholds are destroyed, and this whole description of this event. And they're like, you know, it translates in the 18th century to September 11th, 2001, in 2001. And then, but you're like, wait, but it's not, it doesn't correspond to the date prior. But it's like, I would have thought that the earlier would be taken as the authority, but no, it's the most recent attribution is the day that they take it. So that's a little confusing to me, because there's so many examples of that where you're like, I would think that the older would be, oh, it's actually an older version that says this.
No way, man. I think about it in terms of like engineering, like the first person to ever create a doodad probably didn't make the best version of that doodad. Usually it's like is the first iPhone the best iPhone? And I kind of think you could extrapolate that to philosophy, religion, everything.
Right. Yeah. No, but there are plenty of examples where it's like the older thing becomes the authority. You're like, oh, well, somebody before that said this. And then you're like, okay, well, I guess that's what we're going by. But no,
no, that dude was only 8-bit, bro. Like, talk to me about 64-bit.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting question then. If you're relating to it as technology, the whole conversation shifts. Like, we would assume that the most recent model is better. Although, keep in mind that oftentimes, even with technology, it's the opposite. So we'll find that in the past, many things were built to last as long as possible, because people just assume that, you know, the consumer wants something that lasts as long as possible.
Right. There's got to be like a religious version of planned obsolescence at some point, where someone was like, "It's a great light bulb you got there."
Right. Yeah. Be ashamed if somebody made that thing that'll last forever, last like a month. Yeah, it's true. That seems like a larger discussion to be had around the particulars, because I could definitely, because that becomes a fundamental question that I didn't even know was a question until relatively recently in my, you know, journey into esoterica. That it's like, oh wait, no, you're taking the most recent as the authority. Oh shit. Okay, well,
we were talking about like how old the pyramids are, and how you're not allowed to blow them up now because they're so old, right? But if you look at Japanese temples, the ones that are like thousands of years old, but they're not actually thousands of years old, because they like almost on a rhythm, they will knock them down and rebuild them, or they'll slowly rebuild them over time. So it's very rare to find one that's just been standing for 1,000 years. If it is, it's like a ship of Theseus kind of thing.
We're looking at
someone just a second ago, because someone said, you know, you're a god, and then everyone's like, you can't say that, that's the horrible thing. And it's like, you know, they hate it when you tell them that Jesus actually said ye are gods. And of course, one of my dear favorite people, not Joe King, was like, no, Jesus didn't say that, right? But Jesus, of course, did say that. It's not just from Jesus, it's in Psalms as well. Jesus answered to the Pharisee and the Sadducee, is it not written in your law? So it's even bigger than Jesus saying it. He's explaining to them why he's called the Son of Man and everything.
Why is he being all like Socratic here, though?
Wait. Hold the phone. Why he's called the Son of Man and everything? Tell me more about that.
Oh, let's read the verse. So Jesus answered the Sadducee, is it not written in your law? I said, ye are gods. If he called them gods, unto whom the word of God came, and the scripture cannot be broken, say ye of him who the Father hath sanctified and sent into the world, thou blasphemous. Because I said, I am the Son of God. And so there's a whole idea that the Son of Man refers to, not only is Jesus the Son of God, but Adam is the son of God. And so the be begat of Adam means.
Are you looking at John? What book is this?
This is John 10, actually. If you go to John 10, 34 through 38, you can read about this whole idea here.
I'm gonna have to question you a little bit on the Son of Man issue there, because you said like I need to see the particulars, because there's the argument that like because Jesus is in court, right? And when he says what the Son of Man will do and how the Son of Man will come with the clouds, and he's apparently describing the fall of Jerusalem before it happens, which is debatable whether or not this is actually written after. Like it's like,
well, because in Ezekiel says the Son of Man stand up on your feet.
If I had some text written after September 11th, 2001 to describe how the two towers would fall, and and I said, but it's 40 years later, right, of how this is going to happen, and I assert that this is prophetic and written actually before the towers fell. This is a time where we can't know with 40 years before or 40 years after, was this written before, was this written after? But anyway, there's the argument that when you look at the Greek, when he says what the Son of Man will do, that he's describing what Titus Caesar will do in service of Vespasian.
The Son of Man is an older expression. So Ezekiel, it's used, and it means the child of Adam, really. So it means like the descendant of Adam, and the idea that this is like the Mormons use this for the Adam God theory, that like the first example of man is actually the spirit of God, and man is God, man in God's image. And so the Son of Man, I think, let's see, Ezekiel.
Bring up the Son of Man painting that was the basis for Apple Records for the Beatles. Can you do that? It's a Son of Man painting. And we just, I'm sure most people are familiar with it, right? There he is.
Yeah.
There's the guy. Yeah, if you watch that movie Bronson, this is his art project at the end where he tries to make the other guy into the Son of Man. But this apple is dot, right? So you have the knowledge, and it's just a man in a suit with the knowledge as his head, right? So that's the idea. But this is the basis for Apple Records, which is interesting because you have the Son of Man and Man's Son, who's basically like a poor man's Beatles with his White Album, But,
Manson, Charles Manson, Marilyn Manson.
Well, Charles Manson believed that he had significance with his name Manson because he is the Son of Man. And then you have this argument that Jesus is talking about himself in the third person or whatever, but who's to know? Like, is he really talking about himself in court? Because he won't speak in court, right? So he's silent, and then finally he comes out and says what the Son of Man will do, and everyone's just like, oh my God, did he just really? Oh no. So I don't know. This is how Jerusalem will fall.
So Matthew 9:6. But I want you to know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins. That's not through atonement; it's just through forgiveness of sins. Matthew 8:20. Foxes have dens and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. Matthew.
These are examples of the son of Adam. That's what you're arguing.
Yeah. Right, absolutely.
I can see that. Yeah. But when he says specifically what the Son of Man will do, that we say is the return of Jesus, which doesn't. There's this issue with like if you jump and you say the Book of Revelation has these three main sections, right? I mean, obviously there's many chapters to the Book of Revelation, but there's different time periods that it's argued by scholars that it's relating to, and I believe the first is speaking to the time at hand with what is going to happen with Jerusalem specifically. But people tend to take it that this is regarding like all the end of time, when really in part it's at least speaking to the end of Jerusalem being sacked by the Romans.
But also Armageddon, because you will see heavens open, angels of God, sons of God, angels is Adonai Elohim, ascending and descending on the Son of Man. Right.
So now if you look at the wording in War of the Jews by Josephus Flavius and compare that to what Jesus says in court regarding the Son of Man, if you look at the Greek of each, you'll see it's like uncanny. It's almost the same exact wording. So that apparently has been something that's been pointed out by scholars for a long time as like an indicator that there's a direct correlation between Josephus Flavius and the gospel specifically, not necessarily the rest of the New Testament, but those four books, which statistically it's been proven mathematically that they couldn't have existed from separate people, or at least if they were separate people, they were working on the same panel, because you can't have people filling in the blanks like that, like mathematically, like on its own. Like it's far too much. for the probability of that. But yeah.
But Stephen, full of the Holy Spirit, looked up into the heaven and saw the glory of God and Jesus standing to the right hand of God. And he said, look, he said, I see heaven open and the Son of Man standing at the right hand of God. So there's definitely some usage for Christ being the Son of Man, which is interesting.
Right, but when you say at the right hand there's that whole thing about James and John wanting to be at the right and left hand of Jesus when he has his new kingdom, right? So that's relatable, because he's the Son of God, so they want to be at the right.
Frankly, everybody, that's the thing that upsets people, because we're like, it also says Romans 8:17 says we're co-heirs with Christ. We're not like, this bothers a lot of people that were taught by serfdom, by lords, and beaten and murdered into being Christians, or Janissaries by the Muslims, that you're in a horizontal corporation, essentially cooperation with Christ. You're co-heirs with Christ. And so I think it's in Revelation 1:13. I saw 7 gold lampstands, 13, and among the lampstands was someone like a son of man. So a son of man, actually a son of Adam, is a sort of title of a special kind of being created by God, which is like what we think of as the human phenomenon.
Right, but this is getting conflated with the lineage of Melchizedek. So you're like Sadiq, right? So like there's this, and then you have the tribe of the line of David, which Jesus,
the righteous kings,
attributed to. So and then so it's interesting. It's a term that gets used in different ways throughout the New Testament, right? So I definitely like a son of the Adam, like that makes sense, but isn't that all of us? But isn't Jesus saying, eat of my flesh and drink of my blood because we're one? So he's the Son of God because we're all the Son of God, but it all hinges on this idea of belief or knowledge, which is itself connected to the other tree in the garden where you become as gods if you eat of it, right? To know good and evil, right? So like it gets that, I mean, everything comes down to this question of knowledge, like to know something, does with that knowledge come a sort of divinity, or is the divinity inherent? And that's a bit of a paradox to say, we are stardust, we are golden, you just have to know it, and so it is, or and in not knowing it, you're acting out of ignorance, and so you experience hell basically. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's fun to argue with people about religious things, because it's kind of like, hey, remember like the Superman comic 312 on page 6 where he said this, or like it's fun to do. I don't know why I like it so much, but I'm a fan. All right, but also David, real quick, what have you been up to recently? Anything you want to talk about on the on your side of the space?
I got a project coming up pretty soon here that I almost don't want to quite disclose, so maybe I shouldn't even bring it up. But I got something pretty major in the works that I'm doing a collaboration with somebody. So
nice.
When the time comes, I'll drop that on you. So I'm being purposefully elusive right now, but somebody might be watching this and they might be like, "Oh, okay, he's
portraying the
secret. Not quite talking about it." Yeah,
Warlock portraying the secret. Well, okay. So anything that you wanted to bring up from your zeitgeist? Anything going on this week that you wanted? Oh, Orion. Oh, that was pretty good. That's
the entire film of RoboCop done to that. Yeah, but yeah, I don't.
That's pretty good.
I approve. Yeah. Scroll down a little bit, scroll up wherever you were. I don't know. This is funny. Can I just share about the thing here with Stephen King? Because just like click on those images right there because it's funny as hell, and people probably all up on this. But I was getting a kick out of this quote from Stephen King in the past, because here he says trans is not the problem. He had a gun. That's the problem. I wonder if he caught that himself, that he's misgendering the shooter, which is just shows he's a total transphobe.
Shame on you, Stephen King.
But the quote in my OP here is like cracking me up. So if you go and you look at the tweet itself, not just the images, right? But that's it's pretty small for me on my screen. But this is from Gunslinger, right? So this is the actual creed. Where he says, "I do not kill with my gun. He who kills with his gun has forgotten the face of his father. I kill with my heart." I don't know. I got a total kick out of that because, he's. I mean, how old is he now? Is he 90? Was Stephen King 90, or is he just?
No way. Is he really that old?
He's got to be 80.
Stephen King, born in 47, so he's 77. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he's 77. Oh, I thought he was already 80. Okay, well, whatever the case, you know, was
like Stephen Hawking's or Bill Clinton or Donald Trump. I'm just saying, are they replacing him like Putin's every few years? Is it really Stephen Hawking, Stephen King, kind of probably the same thing? Like,
I'm trying to figure out what his deal is, like, because there's all these points, like even The Stand or something, and then like him during COVID. It's like, what is his process? Like, it's like, is this the guy that wrote all this stuff that was like a, you know?
Well, didn't the CIA write most of his books for him? No, is he really?
Is that what it is? I don't know. He's such a perplexing figure to me. I can't quite wrap my head around.
I thought he was like a Shakespeare thing, like a paid actor to like play disinfo agent or something. But you never know; it could be real. I think the only things he wrote are the really weird, perverted stuff.
Well, consider. I think Stephen King wrote this stuff. Maybe he dictated a lot of his books, you know, after a certain point. Like he didn't actually physically type them out, and then maybe he's got people working with him to make it, to put this to edit it.
And like a master painter during the Renaissance. You just
You can. I heard that his wife wanted to kill him because he wouldn't stop playing Mambo No. 5 for 6 months. That was
okay. Whatever the case, like I'm kind of contemplating like what the deal, like on a personal level, like just if you think about like what would the experience of being like, just what would it be like to be Stephen King, to at least have come up with these concepts of all these stories at the very least, and how much that's influenced and impacted like the larger like subconscious like treatment of like all this, like, okay, you know, I'm gonna jump around here a minute. Louis CK, he did the I Love You Daddy. Have you guys seen I Love You Daddy?
I don't remember.
The black and white one, right?
Louis CK's black and white Woody Allen movie where he wanted Woody Allen to play the part, but Woody Allen turned it down, and then it went to what's his name? Heart of Darkness, John Malkovich. And so like, you know, this movie wasn't released. And this is basically it's crazy. It ties in with the Golden Bough completely because it's I Love You Daddy, and it all comes down to Mother May I, you know, and what goes on in Florida during a spring break, you know. But this movie, like the production company, like because of the controversy surrounding him, wouldn't release this. But this is like evolutionarily speaking, in terms of the larger conversation within the zeitgeist, like it's such a disservice to humanity that this wasn't something that like the vast majority of people have not seen this yet. In 2017, this is something that should have been in the zeitgeist. We should have been discussing this and all its implications. You know, you can find this online, like you can download it, you know, but it has no official release, and it feels like really important. Stephen King, on the other hand, we've been bombarded with through since the 70s, right? So it's just like Stephen King is such a central figure in the zeitgeist, and yet like as far as like the progression of the larger dialogue around these culture war issues, like he's central to it. But like this should have been that too. Like this should have been a contribution, and it feels like this terrible injustice. I mean, I don't even feel like I'm being dramatic in that. Like it feels like a terrible injustice to humanity to not have us discussing what this film speaks to. I don't know if you haven't seen this.
I've seen it, yeah, for sure.
You've seen it,
yeah.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about then. It's about his, because he has 2 daughters in real life, right? And this is like so from the perspective of the princess, if you're looking at the Golden Bough, like she doesn't get laid until her dad dies. So this is basically like his own death in a sense, like because he has to let go of his daughter, but it's like happening in the most brutal way possible because he's done nothing but spoil her and treat her like a princess. So she's gotten everything handed to her, and now as she's moving into adulthood, she's all freaked out, and he's saying, "I'm sorry," because he didn't set her up properly. Because all he's done is treat her like she's royalty, and now she's screwed. And like literally, like this is, and like there's something to the argument that like what he's processing with this film. It's so insane. It also kind of implies that he believes Woody Allen's innocent, which. I have to question whether or not like what happened with him was like organic at all, Like it could have been like
Mia Farrow
like
conspiracy.
People were speaking out, like the powers that be were like, we got to get dirt on this guy big time, because and like he was going in an independent direction. Look at what happened with independent film making. Like, remember Ewan McGregor swore after Trainspotting that he would never not do an independent film, and then it was like he was all of a sudden going to be Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they're like, I thought you said you were only going to do independent films, and he's like, it's Star Wars. Are you kidding me? And the opposite thing happened that had happened in 1977, where these actors that were contributing to Star Wars, Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill and, Harrison Ford, like they didn't know what they were producing. And they thought it was just going to be another sci-fi crap movie. And then when it actually released and they saw the movie that they had created, they're like, what did we do? But like, it's the opposite happened with the prequels, is that, Ewan McGregor, he's like, we're producing a new Star Wars movie. I'm a big shot. This is something, and then it's not what any of them expected, I'm sure. Like, the contributors of the actors in Star Wars. So it's like he gave up that. But if you look at the time frame of the way that shift happened, where we're looking at independent media and it stopped being really independent, like that happened along with him doing that. So it's like he sold out or whatever. And then it was like everything became a sellout, where it's like IFC started, Sundance blew up, and then it's like everybody wanted to be an independent film. And then it was like hijacked, where it's not really independent. Not to say that there's no independent films anymore, but there's a lot of things that came out under the guise of independent, but they got so big that it was no longer really independent anymore. You know what I mean? And like, so what Louis CK was doing was like, he was actually going in the direction of being truly independent, like with his website and everything. This film isn't even on his website. Like, you'd think he would have been able to, it's not going to get released officially, I could at least share it with the world, but like it's out there, like you can watch it, but there's no official release. He doesn't have it on his website, and interestingly, he doesn't even talk about it in interviews, really. Like, you'd think that this, like, is he not allowed to? Is it a legal issue? But it feels like they went after him because of something he was doing here, like in the public discourse. Do you know what I mean? Am I
totally? Yeah. I mean, Pharaoh's got so much more power than people realize. And the stories about Woody Allen, I don't know, like you could totally upset anybody just by saying that kid was probably his wife, just like post-traumatic stress surviving Korean girl who's been through hell before she got to America, was being exploited by New York modeling agencies, and that she escaped to Woody Allen, which is why they're still married together. You say that, it pisses everybody off, but the more you look into it, a lot
more than that. Watch, what is it? Woody Allen is innocent. Actually, Woody Allen is innocent. You will piss people off, but I would suggest looking at the open letter from Moses Farrow, where he describes the whole situation from his perspective and why he believes that Mia Farrow like instigated this whole thing. And I mean, this is multiple investigations. And look at what was, communicated by law enforcement. Multiple investigations all determine the same thing, that the kid's whole story was scripted, and that Mia Farrow repeatedly had her children basically going over these scripts, where they were acting like she would have been instructed to act, like she's having her children go through the same deal. Like, I believe Moses Farrow. I don't believe Mia. I'm sorry.
I know Mia's dangerous, and maybe if you've seen Annie Hall, you know how Woody Allen felt about that Goyim family. There's this whole scene with Christopher Walken, which represents sometimes I just imagine what it's like to crash my car into oncoming traffic and to kill an entire family. He says this whole thing, and he's just like, I got to be careful about these like white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, because my God, there's some weird, they seem like a nice family, but deep down, and not even that deep underneath their like reptilian shedding skin, there's some weird stuff going on there for sure.
Right. Don't pull out a jump to conclusions board on this. To speaking to the listeners, I don't know, like I wasn't there, but like I have a hard time not believing Moses Farrow's story, and after everything I've looked at, and I do have a hard time believing Mia's. And so that's from, looking at both sides of the argument as much as I can. So, yeah.
William says Mia Farrow is totally guilty. Hello. Who knows, right? Thank you for advertising our videos, Facebook and YouTube. We have no idea. We're we're not aware of anything. I don't even know if she's a real person, right? Who knows what's going on?
Yeah, well, I have my extrapolation, but I'm not going to claim one way or the other in any absolute terms. I mean, something could come out that could, make me reevaluate everything, but as it stands, I don't believe the official story around that, and I do believe that Moses Pharaoh's line. Yeah.
Man, I don't know. You want to talk about how they're trying to fire RFK? Do you have any feelings on that this week?
Yeah, I do want to talk about that. It's shit's about to go down in a major way. So like when he was first appointed to HHS, he gave an indicator that this September they were going to do a deep dive. They've been doing a deep dive on causes of autism. What I would really get a kick out of, and I don't know, this could go either way. I'd really get a kick out of if it wasn't even like if vaccines didn't end up being the focus. Like if whatever they released in September was just like environmental toxins and like, additives and all kinds of other stuff. Like that would be cool. But, just that would really, throw some certain people for a loop because of all the assumptions. But yeah, the powers that be are in a frenzy right now because people are being let go, and not just being let go. They're walking away from the CDC because it looks like some bombshells are about to drop in a major way. So I'm enthusiastic about it. I feel great. I just like Bernie Sanders has got to be the biggest disappointment of anybody in all of politics. He just released a scathing article calling for RFK Jr.'s removal, but he's a big time receiver of donations from big pharma. People need to understand like how that actually works, like how he receives those contributions, because he's like, you listen to the way he phrases it, where he talks about the PACs. I've received no money from the PACs. Like the corporations have their employees give these donations, and it all adds up, and then they reimburse their employees. Like that's how that works. Not to say that there isn't smaller people that give donations as well, but how did he get that much money? It's not all
right. It's the equivalent of like, I don't take donations on Tuesdays.
Right. He's not one nickel. Do you denounce this onesie? Like he's having like they have meltdowns the more that they're
Jarek liked that one apparently. Thank you, Jarek, for the 20. That's beautiful. We appreciate it.
Oh my god.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I'm so groggy today. I apologize. You can see it in my eyes, I'm sure. I just didn't get enough sleep. But I do want to like emphasize that like this has been building towards this for a while, and I'm very at the end of my seat for what happens, what gets released, what information gets released this September. And apparently all the establishment Democrats are at the edge of their seat too, and I think they're losing it because this isn't looking good for whatever it is that they've been receiving the benefits of. So they're trying to shut it down any way they can, and it's thrilling to watch.
Just gonna say again, thank you for the super chat, Jarek. That's super rad of you. We appreciate the super chats. Also, just so you know, not that like it's a huge deal, but it's super easy to super chat through FChat, and we get way more of the super chat because we don't have to share it with our pimp, which is up on the screen here. We like the FChat, and also uncensored chat is definitely going on in there, so I should be very careful about what I share on that screen after we talked about me and Farrah, bro.
Oh boy. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, okay, I want to talk about disappeared Trump because this is kind of a fun. I mean, we're gonna do like Zeitgeist for a second, or SyncTank Zeitgeist, which is like the current events, is what I'm calling that. There was a bunch of posts recently of Trump saying like, I want to be good. I want to get to heaven. I want to go to heaven. I don't want to, if I save the world with this war in Iraq, or I'm sorry, Ukraine or whatever country this du jour, Israel, whatever, Palestine, we're going to go to heaven if we're good. And then after that, Trump like disappeared from the media for like a week. And everyone's like, is Trump dead? Like, is Trump, what happened?
Amazing that that's all it takes from people to question if Trump is dead. When I'm sorry to do the whataboutism here, but seriously, what about the fact that Biden was like not seen for much longer periods than a week at a time?
Dude, and yeah, how many Bidens have we gone through? Because it's probably like the Halo body count. You know, there's just like you die 50 times and you come back to play another battle royale. But there's all these pictures. This guy says, if Trump is alive, I will give $100 to everyone who likes this tweet. I'm liking that tweet because I need that money more than you realize. Anyway, Trump is dead. I will give $500 to everyone who likes this tweet. What am I doing not liking these tweets? Like, this is important. Please give me money. This is engagement bait. If X fails to take down the post after being reported, then it should be noted to prevent undue monetization. Bruh, no, I mean, an engagement tweet is hot. And if you give me money, then I love you. That's totally fine. Like, I love you unconditionally, but $500 would help. Am I right? So they got all these pictures of this guy that they say is like fake Trump. You know what I mean? And they got. Is that Trump? I don't know, because he looks just like the actor from the South Park. I thought this was said
to be an older video. Isn't that what they're arguing? That they like released that there's a video going around that's actually from months ago or something.
I mean, I've seen both. I've seen that there's like the idea that they have
this
old
is some
videos
Paul
of
is
Trump.
Dead Trump business now. That's where we're at. We're just like,
well, because we had the Bernie Sanders
circles, David. Look at how many circles there are.
We had the weekend at Bernie's. We went from weekend at Bernie's talking about RFK to weekend at Trump's. And now we've got this whole, like, is Trump a puppet? Well, wasn't he always? But now we've got like there's a new kind of vibe here to this Trump. And you got to wonder, like, because there's all those pictures of Trump's painted hand, Trump painted hand. You've seen this, right? He's like, I'm healthy as a horse. And then you look at that tattoo. Oh my God, really? This is
good work.
Yeah, but he's got these like spots that he's got on his hands that he's been wearing, this like weird makeup spots to cover like IV systems that are dripping into him. I think he's probably getting like the NAD plus injections. I don't know exactly what's going on, but yeah, he was just playing golf here in Virginia. That's what Asmongold said. Do you believe everything that boy says? Because I'm not sure I do. I don't think he necessarily knows, or he's just kind of being disingenuous at a certain point. Could it be that Trump is fine and that this is all right? Of course. But isn't it worth
keep in
considering?
Mind, he's been a major target. He's increasingly more of a target. He's had multiple assassination attempts on his life, one way or the other. I mean,
some of them are even real. Yeah.
I've watched people who just went off about how this is a conspiracy theory, this or that, over everything. Suddenly become the biggest conspiracy theorists I've ever seen when it comes to Trump assassination attempts. The shooter in Minneapolis had, I shouldn't say because I don't want to at risk. Look at what was written on his
they them's guns.
On they them's gun. Like, come on, man. Like, this is crazy. So it's like maybe there's a concern right now. And also, isn't it ironic and just totally nuts that something that's like Kamala's Secret Service went beyond the time that they're officially supposed to go for her protection. Like, she is not a candidate anymore. Like, what happened, speaking of RFK Jr., like, he was denied Secret Service over and over in like a record amount in recent times, since the death of his father, for a presidential candidate. Is like, like the levels that they went to deny him Secret Service until Trump was shot at is unfreaking believable. And now it's 6 months. Like, it's supposed to be the time after to her running that she no longer has a Secret Service protection, but they're saying she was, like that it was this, like, these are headlines from major publications saying that that this is this atrocity that she's been denied Secret Service. Where were these people? I'm sorry. Where were these people when Kennedy's house was broken into twice by the same guy who was arrested, released, went straight back to his place again with fake credentials, got in again. He got into his house twice. So, and all the death threats that he received, like, after two of his family members were freaking murdered by mutants. The whole thing is just out of this world lunacy. So I don't know. Like, is Trump, concerned about his life? Maybe. I don't know. It sure looks like there's some real nuts out there with friggin' like a death wish for themselves and him at the same time. So I don't know, man.
The best nuts. He attracts the best psychos.
Right. Father of Minnesota trans shooter, CIA does tracking systems to monitor and predict human behavior. That's pretty good. How many transgendered people does it take to change a light bulb? I don't know if you need to read that one. Okay, now I do. One, but they have to live in the dark for 2 years to make sure they want it changed, and then get the opinions of 2 other electricians to make sure it needs changing. I don't know. Okay. I get that. But yeah, there's a whole thing with the parents of the shooter being intelligence agents involved in tracking, which is pretty interesting. Probably worth looking into at some juncture.
Did you guys
there.
watch his manifesto? Did you watch that? I watched the whole thing. I couldn't help.
Oh my god, no! I ought to do it probably.
Like him talking.
Oh yeah.
Or them talking. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing: is that people are worried about misgendering the shooter while in his own
offend somebody with a gun. I mean, you gotta be careful.
He's arguing that he regrets his transition. So it's like you're like, oh, don't call him, don't dead name him when he's like, I wish this didn't happen.
Don't call it. Yeah, exactly.
It's just the whole thing is just so layered. This should be points of reflection, is what it should be for the public at large. Like we should like as far as like the insanity of the culture war goes, like this should be points of meditation. Like, can we just take a breath and consider the ironies involved in all of this and everything? I saw on ABC,
like rain on your wedding day. Yeah,
I saw somebody on ABC News just straight up say it had Trump written on his guns, and then you're like, oh, what else did it say about Trump?
It also the N-word. They had N-word farts. I remember.
Well, it was fart N-word. Yeah.
It wasn't a hard.
Why though? Why? You got to wonder, what are transgender people racist now too?
Skibbity toilet. That's why.
Oh, okay.
He's talking to himself. He's on drugs. He's on like mixing pharmaceuticals in a way that who the hell knows. Like he's out of it. Like, listen to what the guy's saying and what he wrote. He's out of his freaking mind. So you're like, when you're trying to make sense of that, I don't understand why there would be any concern about sensitivity around the guy's identity crisis.
I think the problem is that, again, like the whole thing is like protect trans kids with knives and then protect transgendered with guns. It's kind of like Islam in general, or like Orthodoxy. You really don't want to offend an unstable person with a weapon. So, like the thing that we're most worried about at this point is just being wrapped into the rapture with somebody who wants to aim a gun at you because you use the wrong pronouns. And that's a cool place to be, where you're so afraid of people with pronouns shooting you that you have to be really, I mean, good job,
like road rage. Like, you don't want to honk at that car in front of you. You don't know they might have a gun on them.
Well, it's getting twisted because of they want this religious thing. There's a lot of people out there are very anti-organized religion, right? But they seem to be giving every indication that they're forming their own new religions, like overtly. So I'd say it's like, as far as like the relationship of like big pharma with their sacrament, that if you don't get it, you are a heathen, heretic. And there's this whole sacred eunuch thing. Like, both have their anthropological, like, origin stories beyond today, but they're like being like revamped in this like, this very like archetypal way, So it's like, this feels like these like a religion is being protected, and we don't want like bad associations, right? Because we've already gone to the point that if somebody associates with somebody else who did bad things, they're as guilty as that person by association, right? Like, did you ever, talk to this person? Do we have photos of that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so if you have any, there's just something really weird, like this kind of protective thing, and like something like this becomes this point of immediate contention. Like, it's a wedge, it's a threat of the organizations themselves, right? Like, they don't want to have this association, but it's just there. They're like, he's not, are you, like, when you ask somebody, it's the meme again, I talked about this last week, but it's like where you have the meme of the guy's like, do you know are you friends with these people? And then the one guy's like, yes, absolutely. And the other guy's like, no. It's like, this is one of those things where it's like, he's like, yeah, I'm with these guys. And they're like, no, you're not, bro.
People aren't always against organized religion. Well, man's organization school of thought leaves something to be desired, I think that's the thing that we should say. You know about J.R. Tolkien's canceled sequel to Lord of the Rings, The New Shadows, right? You heard about that?
Is it his, or are you talking
J.R. Tolkien in the 1950s was working. He got like 13 pages deep before he got too depressed and realized his story is about the secret. It's about like a secret society in Gondor that make their own secret combinations and their secret Masonic and then their secret satanical. It's basically the same thing as the Book of Mormon, though. So I think that's probably why he realized he had like a copyright issue.
What's the other J.R.R. Tolkien book? It starts with an S. The Scythian. What is it called? What is that thing called? J.R.R. Tolkien's like other work.
Someone help me here. No, he never finished this one.
I'm not nerdcore enough to.
Cimmerillion, the Cimmerillion you're talking about?
Yeah.
Which is also the the economy in the Sims game. No,
but that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about something else.
Totally different. Yeah, he like started writing this thing. There's actually a video on it that I can probably put into the F chat. Why Tolkien abandoned his sequel that talks all about what he was working. It's only about 8 minutes long, this video, but it talks about what he was talking about 100 years after the downfall, after the end of Mordor, and everyone's supposed to be doing pretty good. But then these guys in Gondor start building these secret societies, and I mean, it's 1950s England, you know, right. So it's about secret societies that are into the occult, and they're saying, what's the big deal with studying the dark magics? I mean, what's so dark about them anyway? Maybe these guys are actually good guys. Who are we to judge? Our parents probably had them misunderstood. And, you know, that they were going to start building kind of a neo-Sauronist underground occult organization filled with small evil schools. But, you know, Tolkien, here's a quote, "It proved both sinister and depressing. Since we are dealing with men, it is inevitable that we should see them deal with the most regrettable features of their nature, their quick satiety with good, so that people of Gondor in times of peace, justice, and prosperity would become discontented and restless, while the dynasty descended from Aragorn wouldn't become just kings and governors, and the seedy side of humanity would be revealed. And all the petty problems would be, of course, just as difficult, if not more so, than to deal with the great ones of the great evil." So not just that, you know, there's Satan. Now you're really dealing with the shadow of the individual person, of the human evil, which, you know, they've changed the Nicene prayer, right? Or like the Lord's Prayer even, to say, it used to be "deliver us from evil" in English, but they've returned it to a more Latin idea of "deliver us from the evil one," which is so different, right? You go to a Catholic church and you're like, whoa, did they change the Kundalini at this place? But now you're not just worried about it used to be that you were worried about evil inside you, evil outside of you, evil within, evil without, the ambient evil that exists in the world. And now it's the evil one. Like there's just this one Sauron kind of thing you have to worry about, as opposed to your own issues that you have to take
the adversary rather than your own adversarial nature, right? So it's like you can externalize it, is kind of what you're saying. Yeah,
externalize and personify it. Personify it as this. It's actually like kind of an anti-idol, because you put everything into this idol of good, but it's also this idol of evil.
It becomes the scapegoat. That's interesting. But you're saying that they're arguing that there's a basis for that in the Latin.
In the old Latin, for sure. Yeah, because in the old Latin, it's I forget what it is, but it is like essentially like the evil one is the old way that they used to say it, but it was translated into German and English as "deliver us from evil itself," which is maybe even evil is kind of holistic as a title.
There's something here.
Does that mean every Lord's Prayer I've ever said until now was for nothing?
You got to cut your dick off. There's nothing you can do. It's too late.
I didn't have the word "one" in there, and now like you're gonna get to hell, and they're gonna be like, "Why am I here?" It's like you missed the word.
Out of here. Yeah, you got to be really, because whatever man says goes, right? That's really it's the most important thing to learn about God, is that you have to do exactly what organized men have told you.
Right. So yeah, there's this whole issue of the new Eon and American prayer and liberal. Actually, Chris Knowles likes to point that out, that liberal and liberal. Coincidence? You know what I'm saying? Crowley's Book of the Law, liberal. It's weird.
Liberal, for sure.
Yeah. I just want to point out too that, like,
as opposed to Weird Al, it's liberal, you know.
If somebody brings up Lord of the Rings, not Lord's Prayer, but Lord of the Rings, I automatically think of Lord of the Flies. It turns out those two books, I've discussed this, but
Thomas, they're going to decapitate you because you used the wrong word in a prayer one time. you're in trouble. I don't know what
Lord
to do
of the Flies and Lord of the Rings were published the same year from the same university. So, and the only connection that I could find between the two men of a common link, as far as another person goes, was this one devotee or disciple or student, I should say, of Rudolf Steiner from the Theosophical Society. So I'm like, I'm kind of shocked that I haven't seen anyone else ever point out the link between Lord of the Rings and Lord of the Flies, like several links. Like Lord of the Flies, and this is worth bringing up because what you're describing with the evil one. Remember the pig head in Lord of the Flies to keep,
Totally.
Maybe there is a beast, maybe it's only us, right? Like it's basically the same thing as what you're arguing as far as the evil one is concerned, right? And this is very similar to Yellow Jackets, which I've been talking about lately. But in fact, Yellow Jackets feels like its whole like basis is Lord of the Flies. But Lord of the Flies is a microcosm. Lord of the Rings is a macrocosm of society. So you're looking at like these two petri dishes, of like one is so complex, this complex world with Middle Earth, and like all the different dynamics of these different kingdoms and all this stuff. Whereas Lord of the Flies just consolidates it. It's like this is the consolidated version of what like they had to have. William Golding and J.R.R. Tolkien, they had to have connected. That's like saying like Oppenheimer and Jack Parsons. Like, how did these people not know each other? I can't find a record directly of them knowing each other, but they're at the same university publishing these books at the same time, which are so widely known and distributed. You know what I mean? Like, it's just weird. How's that not discussed more?
I'm trying to find. There's another interesting thing about Lord of the Flies that no one talks about, which is that it actually happened, just nothing the way that we were told. Okay. Because there's actually the story of about the Tongan boys, the Lord of the Flies Tongan story.
No, enlighten me.
Okay, so there was actually a real thing that happened. There was a group of boys that got lost on a boat, and they ended up sailing to this weird island, and they were castaway. They were stuck there for over a year. The only difference was they weren't like Saxon Christian boys. They were Tongan Mormons. And so they didn't actually consume each other and become fully evil the way that you were taught. Actually, when they found them, they had written hundreds of Christian hymns, Mormon hymns. They were living off wild fish. They were completely happy, like serving God and making music. They'd made their own handmade guitar. They prayed together every day. They had excess of food that they'd figured out. They had become like a really revitalized Mormon Tongan Christian community.
Wait. That guy's got 7 fingers, dude. This is AI. No, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
No, it's real. This is totally real. You can actually, if you type in Tongan Boys 1965, I think is when it is, the Tongan Castaways. It's a whole thing. 6 Tongan teenage boys, uninhabited island of Ata in 1965. They lived there for 15 months before their rescue. They allegedly ran away from their boarding school, but it's actually more complicated than that. They were just trying to go on a fishing trip, and they used a boat, and then they actually got in a storm. They were wrecked off the coast. They got stuck there, and when they found them, they were super healthy. They were like eating like fish, everything. Let's see if I can find you some more pictures.
It was supposed to be a 3-hour tour, or should I say a 3-hour tour?
Yeah, totally. It was exactly like that. Here's my favorite picture, actually, because when they found them, they actually went and they showed them what they were doing. They're like, look how ripped this Mormon boy is, dude. This is like, they're just like, this is the, you gotta be like the Tongans, the Tongan Mormons. They're and the whole thing, like the worship music they wrote is so bad. Like, I mean, like good. I mean, like I'm talking like a California.
Yeah, like now. Michael Jackson bad, right?
It's super excellent. It's the most excellent. It's some of the most excellent. Like if you're ever lost for 15 hours, let alone 15 months, and you want to like get God feelings and vibes back in your heart, you ought to listen and sing the praises of the Lord that these Tongan boys wrote. It's that intense. It makes you really feel grateful to be alive, which is of course Jonah from Tonga. Yeah, I guess there's something about that. I mean, there wasn't really that many natives on this abandoned island, which is another reason they were kind of lost there for 15 months. And people thought when they first found them, hey, are these guys, smugglers or something like that? Like, no, they're like 15, 16 years old. Like, no, we thought they were dead. So they had like funerals for them. And then they had this huge celebration when they brought them home. And it was this awesome, gratitude every day. Exactly. It was gratitude every day. But I would just highly recommend checking them out because, when you're told about the Lord of the Flies, it's like, well, these were the Lord of the Flies about European Christian boys who devolve into evil, original sin-carrying locusts that are worshiping, the evil demon that is available to them.
They're just afraid. They've developed a scapegoat projection that they're all like asserting, but they're questioning at the same time. Is it real or is it us? And it becomes a statement on. So this is the thing: is that J.R. Tolkien, he's Catholic, but he's also super aware and hip to all this anthropological stuff.
Right? I know people hate it when you say that, but because of his relationship with C.S. Lewis, I would also say they're kind of Gnostic. If you read Damien, but no one likes it when you talk about the fact that they met in bars every night to become Christians.
Damien,
right?
You mean? Oh, I did that last week. I conflated Goya. See, this is why I prefer to do the evenings, man. You get me in the morning. For me, I screw things up. I was like saying Goethe, whatever his name. I say Goethe, and people know what I'm talking about. I say Goethe. People are like,
you're talking about Goya. Goya might be pronounced differently. I thought you were.
Goya it's a painter, and they're two different people, and I conflated them because I'm getting so into.
You were just trying to pronounce it right.
I'm combining things in my head, and it's like, evenings again, man. I'm screwing up, but anyway. No, I don't know.
Because Goya painted about what Goethe actually wrote.
That's how it got mixed up, and they're also got a similar vibe going on in their interests, obviously, Faust and, the Witch's Sabbath. But no, I'm just... Yeah,
I need to point out, too, that there is a connection between Lord of the Flies and Lord of the Rings, maybe, and that's that there are flies in Lord of the Rings, the flies of Mordor, which are like these blood-sucking flies that Frodo and Sam run into, I believe, at a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of connections between the two, and one is like a novella, and the other one is just like this giant, this giant work. So yeah, there's something to that, man. It's crazy.
Well, we jumped the shark. We got 2 hours and 15 minutes deep. We talked about Mormon Tongans being super religious people that impress me more than most others.
And more nipples.
Yeah, it's true. But these are Tongan nipples and they're Mormon nipples. So I think we're for whatever reason in the clear. And then the savage Saxon Christians and what it means to be doing your best in a world where you're in charge of kind of maintaining your own legacy or you don't have anyone above you except for God. And you have to kind of wonder about those devil whispering in your ear. So many people that are constantly having the devil whisper in their ear and they're not looking at because, God didn't just whisper in anybody's ear. God builds a fire, tells you to take off your sandals and walk into the holy place. God wrestles naked. There's a lot of crazy, God's a little bit more clear than just whispers. A lot of demons like to whisper. I think that's the level of their power to check out. But okay, don't want to offend too many people more. I think I did my best already. And yeah, I'm pushing again one more time. Like, make sure you guys are going to F chat and you're using the F chat. Talk about Beelzebub. Yeah, I just like what's going on here. I'm pretty happy with it. Thank you guys for the super chats. That's been super great. What about SyncTank? No, MK Ultrasound. We're going to just really quickly go back to the pages to show you where you can get the content from David Plate. Go to MK Ultrasound 723, David Charles Plate. You can watch highlights channel. You'll find all of his sync films here. He actually takes movies and synchronizes them with music. But probably because the people who make these movies and make these albums are making them to synchronize. I recently just watched Falling Down. Was telling our friends that you have a sync with Ace of Base, which is just, there's no way that they're not connected, released on the same day, fit like twice or three times in the same album. Here's the Black Stallion paired with And in the Darkness from Hearts Aglow. Highly recommend Schindler's List with Leonard Cohen. And yeah, just go through the highlights here, all on X without any sort of difficulty to get to them. Midsummer with Tool. You can get, and you can look into this and see for yourself, what is it that they're trying to do with parading around, camouflaging the secret esoteric aspects of these albums with visuals that are tied to them, and vice versa. By hiding in the visuals something that are masked by the vocal tracks, you don't always see what they're really talking about. The music will completely change your perspective and give you an extra layer to it. Here's Rosemary's Baby with the Beatles' White Album, Manson Family, which also connects to Phil Spector because he was the producer of White Album. There's a lot to this, but yeah, make sure you follow David Plate. Anything else you want to say about that, David?
Oh, I think Phil Spector did Let It Be, but yeah, close enough.
Phil Spector, White Album. Let me just see if I'm wrong about that. Right? Is that wrong?
It's Let It Be was his Beatles contribution. Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'm crazy. I thought. Well, who did the White Album then? Producer.
It was Charles Manson, wasn't it?
He had his own White Album.
Giles Martin.
No.
Oh my God, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's look into Giles Martin.
So look at that guy's family crest, dude. Or is it Giles Martin? Is it one of the other guys? George Martin. George Martin's family crest involves 3 Beatles and a zebra with a hooker by crook hook. This is that part of it? Yeah, there goes beyond that. There's more to it. But yeah, if you look at his family crest thing, what's up with the 3 Beatles? Why not 4, man?
Oh my God.
Paul is dead.
Paul is dead. Ah, that's crazy. I like it. ParanoidAmerican.com for all the most important Illuminati comic books in the world. The best-selling illuminated conspiracy comic book series in the world. The best publisher of comic books in the world. And, you know, not just comic books. If you have kids, connect the dots. Found in Conspiracy of Chemtrails. I just saw a fire that was put out by a storm, and I was so grateful that geoengineering exists. You want to get your kids this book so they can understand what they're doing to the weather. Very important book. And then the most recent one is Are You Under Illuminati Mind Control? Which this is not just a book for you. It's a book for all your friends. You want to get as many copies as you can. They're on sale now. You can put these little chick tracts in public, leave them around, hand them to your friends, and they can figure out, are they under Illuminati mind control? Because hint, yes, they are. Most of you don't realize that you're under control. You're hypnotic reactionaries, but that's okay because I still love you.
And this is the new focus, I think. Like, I really, really, really love how these chick tract style little mini comics come out. So I've got at least 5 or 6 more of these ones planned. I've got one on Satanic Panic, one on the Titanic, Bigfoot. I'm doing one on Golden Bough with you guys, which is the first sync book comic, right? Or SyncTank sync book comic. So yeah, these things I'm going to be pumping out for the next few years.
You know, paradoxically, the more that you know you're under Illuminati mind control, the less vulnerable you are to it. So, you know, it's time to, you know, be humble enough to acknowledge your susceptibility.
Yeah, learn your trigger words.
And once you know how mind control works, you can use it to control your own mind, which is kind of the goal. It's fine for the mind to be controlled if you control your own mind. Make sure you go to exertus.com. You can support us directly through our Give Forms circle here, set up for monthly recurring donations if you're hot, and then buy yourself some Exertus merch. We even have yoga mats. We have bike shorts. We have outfits that'll make you feel like the center of the room and the topic of discussion. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next time on SyncTank. Au revoir.